Chapter 51. Yasuo feigned hesitance for a second before saying, "Sure, so shall we." He then offered her his arm, which she took. They then walked arm in arm with Section 5 as their destination. They took a seat after verifying their number and then waited for the items they bid for to be delivered. Then they'll pay the price for the items they bid for, and the same could be said for all the other clients in the room. "So, you are here specifically for the eyes. Are you a body parts collector by any chance?" Yasuo and Morena took a seat next to each other, then started a small talk while waiting. "Nah, I'm a scientist of sorts. I collect anything that interests me. You?" "I'm here instead of a client. As for the eyes, I have no interest in them," answered Morena with a faint smile that only left her face twice across the night. "Yeah, you give that vibe, as if you're not interested in anything." She just laughed it off. "That's an exaggeration. Take it as a compliment. After all, I find it quite attractive, as I said previously." Morena narrowed her eyes, starting to get paranoid. Is he just that perceptive, or he knows something about me? Did someone send him to seduce me? That's why he is saying I'm attractive even with how I am. Well, it doesn't matter, I will know everything I need to know by the end of the night anyway. Suddenly the same man who acted as the auctioneer entered the room, though what could be noticed is the nervousness and the sense of urgency on his face. Behind him several men in suits also entered with guns in their hands. "There has been an emergency, all of the Scarlet Eyes were stolen, so I'll ask all of you to cooperate, else we'll have to use force." Fear could be noticed in his voice, which is understandable considering the most precious item on auction was stolen. Immediately, complaints started getting heard everywhere, with some complaining about the threat and the others wondering if the items they bid for were stolen as well, and annoyance could be seen on Morena's face. "Please cooperate, we'll search each of your belongings. We already closed the building, so everyone in it will be searched as well." No one showed any further resistance. After all, while they brought bodyguards with them, they still don't have guns, considering they're not allowed in the building and they don't want any enmity with the mafia. Yasuo did the same, allowing them to search him and opening his briefcase, which is empty. The searching continued for a while before letting everyone go and giving them all their stuff back. Yasuo exited the building with the briefcase in his hand and Morena next to him. Well, that was disappointing. Morena signaled something for the bodyguards, then they nodded and left. "Your place, or my place?" she said as a faint smile came back to her face. Yasuo raised his eyebrows. Oh. Skipping dinner, huh? Well, the hotel I'm in is close by." Then they walked arm in arm again. "Wine?" "Sure," asked Yasuo after they entered the hotel room. He then went to the kitchen, opened a bottle of red wine, filled 2 wine glasses, then went back to the guest room. "Sit down and don't make any sound. The place is already surrounded, so make any move I don't like and you'll die." That's the sound of Morena threatening him with a gun in her hand. Yasuo let out a smile, then took a seat while saying, "Well, you can ask if you have any questions, then I can say what I have to say." He added calmly, "But first, please have a seat and taste the wine, and don't worry, it's not poisoned." Morena frowned, seeing his casual attitude and wondering why her bodyguards haven't come yet. "Who are you working for? Are you or anyone you know responsible for the Scarlet Eyes' disappearance? Also, do you know who I am? Are you here to seduce me?" Yasuo gave her a weird look that soon turned to a look of amusement as he said, "You really have no idea about how attractive you are, do you? But I guess it's just my preference." That made her frown even more, with a feeling of crisis rising within her. "Answer." Yasuo just let out a sigh. "I'm not working for anyone. I stole the eyes, and no, I don't know who you are. I just found you interesting and decided to take you as my student." "What?" shouted Morena, noticing the gun in her hand disappearing, only to get her composure a second later. "You are a Nen user? So I guess no one is surrounding the place." To which Yasuo nodded while wondering, "You know about Nen but haven't learned it yet, huh?" The high-ranking members of the Heil Li family are Nen users, and while it's rare for junior members to know of the existence of Nen, it's still possible considering she is an illegitimate daughter of the Kakan Empire's ruler and her manipulative personality played an important role as well. Okay, just kill me and get it over with, threatening me is useless. The faint smile disappeared, taking its place was an emotionless expression fitting someone who has no care for her own life. Though a hint of disappointment could be seen deep in her eyes, too bad, I haven't left my mark in this disgusting world, but leaving it is A+, I guess. I said I want you to be my student and I meant it. Since you know of Nen then that makes things easier, I will teach you Nen. In return all you have to do is to become a 1-star hunter under my teaching which will allow me to become a 2-star hunter," said Yasuo while signaling for her to take a seat. She took a seat while wondering, why me? I wanted to take a student either way but I wanted someone interesting like you. What your course of action would be after I teach you Nen is interesting to me though you can say it's just a whim of mine. A faint smile came back on her face. You're not afraid I'll turn on you? Not at all. While saying that, he stood up then got close to her and she didn't show any resistance as she sat defenselessly. He lifted his hand then struck to her chest only for his hand to go through her leaving a purple mark. Delayed rose equals? She narrowed her eyes with a gleam of light surfacing deep in them. I only got general information about Nen but it appears that it can do much more than I thought but is this some kind of poison or curse? If you tell anyone about me or any information I give you, the curse will take effect. Of course, you can still try to kill me, good luck with that. Yasuo had a look of amusement as he noticed the bright smile on her face as if she got the tool to achieve what she wants. When do we start? She asked. You should first let your client know of the Scarlet Eyes getting stolen and finish any business you have. Also, your 2 bodyguards are passed out in a black car near the cemetery building and come back here when you're finished. You should also prepare anything you may need since we'll move around a lot, instructed Yasuo calmly. This is my contact information. He handed her his phone number to which Morena nodded then left. Well, if she doesn't come back in 32 hours then I'll just activate the ability erasing her existence. Once she left, his briefcase flew to him then it opened. What was revealed is the 9 missing Scarlet Eye pairs. He picked one of them looking closely at it. It is a beautiful color. Chapter 52. Once she left, his briefcase flew to him then it opened. What was revealed is the 9 missing Scarlet Eyes pairs. He picked one of them looking closely at it. It is a beautiful color. The moment all of the Scarlet Eyes were within his domain and when he noticed all of them in a tightly closed chest, he simply channeled his aura inside the closed briefcase then created several source portals in it. As for the destination portals, he created them below all the Scarlet Eyes allowing the eyes to fall through the portal into his briefcase. This is the benefit of his control domain. He sees everything in it which means he can create the destination portal anywhere he wants in it though he still needs the source portal to be in his aura. He also did the same when they searched his briefcase, simply teleporting them somewhere empty within his domain which gives a lot of options considering his domain envelops a radius of 260 meters around him, then he teleported them back. He created an amplification domain scanning all of the eyes at a cellular level. He continued decreasing his amplification domain size, and with it, his sense got much stronger surpassing the cellular level. His normal domain decreased to only envelop an area with 6 meters diameter around him with his amplification domain enveloping all of the eyes with a diameter of 1 meter. What he felt is faint energy all around, so faint that it's almost unnoticeable. The faint energy seems to be slowly moving around in a pitch-black space that remains static with no movement whatsoever. This is space. When Yasuo created his control domain, he created it with the function of the stronger he is the more he can sense, which means his sense will extend to anything as long as he is strong enough. That also means that space is within his control if not for the enormous aura consumption, and so far he can sense space vaguely in a 1 meter amplification domain with almost all the rest of his domain sacrificed, but if he decreased his amplification domain more then he can sense it clearly. Yasuo concentrated his attention on all the Scarlet Eyes, sensing some kind of dark energy all around them but concentrated mostly in the iris. He also noted that energy remained static with no movement, while also noting the similarity between this particular energy and Nen, and that he can't control it at all. I should do more tests on them when I go back, and most definitely use the genetic elixir machine on them. And I can't control the energy, and it's not as if I can't handle the input, it's more like it's uncontrollable. So far I only found one similar case. Is it actually? While thinking of this, a gleam of interest passed in his eyes. What Yasuo found is that he can control everything he can sense, and that extends to other Nen users, though the consumption is way too high for it to be worth it, except 2 similar cases so far. This one is one of them. He observed them for a while closely, then he lifted his hand as purple lines appeared on it, then he attacked at one of the eyes, leaving a purple mark. He repeated the process several times on all of the scarlet eyes, then put all of them in his backpack. What Yasuo just used is delayed rows, which will allow him to erase them whenever he wants. He used the same ability on everything back in his lab just in case. This is it for the basics. Now I'll open your aura nodes. 2 days passed. Yasuo and Morena are in a large room on an airship heading towards the Republic of Padokia, to a city close to the Kokuru Mountain, the Zulk's property. He has started teaching her Nen, though he's still teaching her about theoretical knowledge before opening her aura nodes. Morena could be seen wearing a simple black dress with a smile representing her good mood, while also focusing completely on what he says. "Let's start, come close and show me your back," ordered Yasuo, and she did as told without any hesitation. After all, he can kill her whenever he wants. Then Yasuo lifted his hand, placing it close to her shoulder. Instantly he outputs his Nen, though it's strangely calm with little to no aura waste. He then focuses his aura on her, stunning with her eyes widening as she felt the new sensation enveloping her. She seemed distracted until she heard him say, "Focus. Do what I taught you, close your eyes." She did as told, closing her eyes. Her focus only increased once she heard his next words. His wise words seem to target exactly what she needs to hear to trigger the emotional activity needed. Imagine a halo surrounds you, not allowing what's yours to wander in the world, not allowing filthy humans or this filthy world to have a taste of your aura. His calm yet faint voices seemed to have some kind of invisible power that acted as a hypnotization of such, letting her relax and drift into the destination he desires. The aura that was flowing away 2 seconds ago started to flow through and around her body, forming a shroud of aura around her. This is 10. Yasuo lifted his hand and with a smile on his face started patting her, bringing her out of her entranced state. "Good job." She slapped his hand away with a frown on her face. "About filthy humans and this filthy world having a taste of my aura, why did you say that? According to your teaching that's not really what happens, right?" "Of course not, but it worked, didn't it? I told you, Nen is an extension of one's will, so since you really didn't want what I said to happen, your will acted, making the process faster." While saying that, he lifted his hand, catching Morena's punch that was striking towards him. "How do you know what I want and what I don't want? You said you don't know me and I still didn't tell you anything about me," she asked with a glare on her face while retracting her punch. Yasuo started walking towards a chair next to a table while signaling for her to take the other seat. "You didn't notice? You give that vibe, and even though it's faint, I can still easily detect it. It's like you don't care about anything, and you really don't care about your life. You showed that 2 days ago. Make sense?" That made Morena frown even more, not liking how he can see through her at all. "Anyway, let's have a talk and don't let your aura flow away. So tell me about yourself, and you don't have to hide anything from me," stated Yasuo. Morena just let out a sigh, knowing it's probably useless to hide anything from him. "My real name is Morena Prudo. I'm the illegitimate daughter of the Kakan Empire's ruler. The scars are a result of me not being an official child, and I'm only allowed to live under the condition that I never appear in public or concern myself with politics. I joined the Heil Lee family, a mafia family, a few months ago. Satisfied?" Yasuo started stroking his earring while saying, "Good enough, so that explains your personality. Well, I'm Yasuo Zoldyck, an assassin and a 1-star research hunter." There seems to be a hint of surprise on her face. You told me your real name back then. You don't see me as a threat at all. We'll start with basics until we reach our destination, then we'll test your nen affinity. I'm gonna get lunch now, said Yasuo, ignoring her remark. Then he left the room, leaving Morena to her wandering thoughts. Does he really just want me to become a one-star hunter? Then I can do whatever I want when he takes this purple mark off me. If not, then what'll I do? What can I do? Going against him feels like a hopeless endeavor, and why does he treat me so nicely? Is he still trying to seduce me? Well, it doesn't matter. While thinking of that, she extended her dress, looking at the bright purple mark on her chest, making her frown until she just let out a sigh and started training her ten. Chapter 53. Onie-chan shouted Aluka while jumping in Yasuo's arms, I couldn't go to you at all for a month. She complained in a spoiled tone, sorry, you know how busy I am, but you weren't bored, were you? She started shaking her head, not at all. I played all of the games you left for me and downloaded new ones. Morena, who was following closely behind him, looked a little bit startled. She didn't expect someone like him to have such interaction with anyone. A gleam of light passed in her eyes. Should I use her? Suddenly Aluka turned her face, looking at Morena with a blank look for a second, then turned to Yasuo. Oni-kan Nanika doesn't like her since she has bad intentions towards you. Do you want her dead? She asked as if it's something normal, then looked at Yasuo with a wondering expression, just waiting for his permission. That left Morena stunned. Is the whole family like this, a family of monsters? I did some research on the way about the Zoldyck family, but there isn't much information available. But if all its members are like this, then... Yasuo started patting Aluka with a look of amusement on his face. Nah, she is just being mischievous, right? Then he started patting Morena, bringing her out of her shock. She slapped his hand away with annoyance on her face. Stop treating like that. Then she started walking towards his house while complaining to herself. I've been losing my composure for the entire time coming here. Just what's wrong with him treating me like that? Can't he just treat me like everyone else does? Yasuo entered the room with Aluka in his arm, dozing off. Morena is sitting down on the couch with annoyance still on her face until she heard the following, making her calm again. Let's test your natural affinity. Bring a cup of water and a leaf. That instantly got her interest, and she did as told. Use your ren on it. One thing to note is how peculiar her aura is, mostly transparent with a hint of darkness contaminating it. She placed her hands around the cup, then used ren, outputting her aura, and focused it on the cup. Slowly, small black impurities started appearing in the water that made Yasuo raise his eyebrows. I thought she'd be a specialist more than a conjurer, but both were possibilities, though the chances for her to be in any other category than those two were too small. That's enough. You are a conjurer, trained to produce a more significant effect on the water later. For now, go put your stuff in the room right there. That's your room, said Yasuo while pointing at a certain room. Then he went to Aluka's room, where he places her on her bed as she fell asleep in his arms. Then he headed towards his lab with his backpack still on him. The door to his lab opened once it came into contact with his nen, then he entered with the door closing behind him. The interior of the lab didn't change much except for more inscriptions on it. He opened the fridge, then drank a few potions and brought one with him, heading towards the poison room. He poured that certain potion on the poison pool, then put his 2 daggers in the pool, then left the room, closing the door behind him. Yasuo then called Illumi. Illumi, is the job I requested done? Yes, as you requested. He is heading to your house right now. Just call and hang up and I'll cancel my ability. Thanks. The usual payment? I sent an extra one, just give them to him. Okay, see ya. Then he hangs up. From the fridge, a few potions flew towards him after it opened, then he headed outside, waiting in front of his house. He waited for a while until 2 people walking in his direction appeared within his vision. Once they reached him, he handed several potions to one of them, who went back awkwardly with a blank look. This is the result of Illumi's ability. Needle people by sticking a special needle imbued with a large amount of aura into the skull of a person and gives an order. The target of the ability loses all sentience and follows his order until they die trying or from overexertion. Yasuo returned to the lab with the needle person following behind him. He signaled for him to sit down, which he did since Illumi ordered him to do anything Yasuo wants. From Yasuo's backpack, 2 scarlet eyes pairs flew to him with the rest flying into the fridge. Hopefully, it could be useful. Then with a gleam of light in his eyes, he created an amplification domain around the head of the person, though he sacrificed only 20 meters of his domain. Suddenly one eye of the said person flew out, leaving not a speck of blood, nor did the person make any sound. What Yasuo did is cutting the blood vessels and the optic nerve of the eye with his domain, perfectly leaving the person partially eyeless, though he used his domain to stop blood flow. Then he opened one of the scarlet eye's cases, picking a scarlet eye that flew to the person's eye socket. Then he used his domain to again connect the optic nerve and the blood vessels with the new eyes. Then he allowed the blood to flow. "Can you see with your left eye?" asked Yasuo after noting that the eye is still scarlet, to which the person blankly shook his head. With how perfect the transplantation was, he should at least have a blurry vision. As I thought, even though the scarlet eyes were in a fluid specifically for allowing them to stay functioning to a certain extent, keeping the scarlet color, but I guess there has been some damage. Oh well. Yasuo started concentrating his aura on his right hand until he allocated a significant amount of his aura to it. Then purple lines started appearing all over his arms before attacking with his right hand towards the person. Yet he left no damage as his hand went through him, with all the aura allocated to his hand disappearing, leaving a purple mark on the person's head, especially concentrated on his left eye. Violet rose M equals 1, T equals 1. This another use of Yasuo's enhancement Hatsu. If he set the multiplier on a negative number, then the ability will act as a healing ability, though a restoring ability is a more fitting description. Of course, that comes with a few restrictions. The damage needed to heal even a small injury is enormous, and Yasuo found across several experiments on other needle people that the damage needed to heal serious injuries is way too high, and it consumes a lot of nen depending on the level of restoration needed. The most important thing to note though is that he can only use the -1 multiplier. Trying to use a multiplier any lower than that is impossible. The only change noticeable about the person is him looking healthier, but his left eye is still glowing red. "Can you see with your left eye?" Yasuo asked the same question again, except this time he got an affirmative answer. He noticed no change in the person even with his domain and no abnormal activity in the scarlet eye. "Do you feel any different?" The person shook his head. Yasuo seemed thoughtful for a second before transplanting another scarlet eye to the person's right eye and repeating the same restoration process. He used his maximum sense, sacrificing most of his domain to sense the dark energy within the eyes, yet there is still no activity at all, and while the person can see clearly with them, there is still no strengthening effect at all and the eyes remain scarlet. Chapter 54. He used his maximum sense, sacrificing most of his domain to sense the dark energy within the eyes, yet there is still no activity at all, and while the person can see clearly with them, there is still no strengthening effect at all and the eyes remain scarlet. "Stand up," ordered Yasuo after noticing no effect, and the person did as told. Then Yasuo went behind him and placed his hand close to the person's shoulder. He initiated the person to nen, though gently, leaving no harm. "Do your eyes feel any different?" asked Yasuo while using his amplification domain to observe the eyes and any abnormal activity. The person plainly describes what he is experiencing, though what he described is what nen feels like. Yasuo frowned. "As I thought, it's not that easy." Then he took the scarlet eyes out, leaving the person eyeless. Then he headed to a specific room with the 2 scarlet eyes floating behind him. What came into view is a weird-looking device with 3 metal spheres, one smaller than the other with inscriptions all over it. In fact, the entire room is completely engraved. He opened the metal sphere at the top, which is the largest, then threw the pair of eyes in it. Then he focused his nen on the device, and with that, the inscriptions started absorbing his nen as the whole device lightened up. He continued to output his aura towards the device for hours until, from the lowest metal sphere, a a few drops of red liquid fell into a small test tube. Yasuo picked the test tube, then exited the room with a syringe flying towards him. He then used it to draw in the small amount of red liquid and injected it into the person's arm. Then he simply observed the following with interest. As time passed, the person's organs started failing, though what Yasuo observed with his amplification domain is that it isn't the immune system that's attacking the liquid he injected, it's the opposite. The liquid he injected that has cells filled with dark energy is responsible for the person's organs' failure, as they attack the blood cells and the immune system cells, basically starting a self-destructive process. One thing Yasuo took note of is the dark energy becoming active until the person died, and with that all of the cells he injected stopped their activity, with the dark energy stopping its activity as well, with the entire process taking about 7 minutes. Yasuo looked thoughtful while stroking his earring, then he activated Violet Rose, erasing the body, only to instantly notice something making him activate his amplification domain on a few spots. 2. That continued for a while until the small red liquid was concentrated in one place, then he manipulated it into an empty tube and put it in the fridge. So it's not considered to be part of the body, even though I injected it, which ended up erasing solely the body and leaving the liquid, since I set the targets as the body. His eyes shined brightly. So it's possible, but incredibly hard. Yasuo spent some more time in the lab, then left, heading towards Morena, who was using Ren in front of the house. She stopped when she noticed him walking towards her. "What do you want?" Impatience could be noticed in her voice. Yasuo raised his eyebrows as a look of amusement surfaced on his face. "Oh, you don't like spending time with me? I noticed you started avoiding me for a while ago." She frowned and looked unsure about what to say until she said, avoiding answering his question, "It doesn't matter, what do you want?" Yasuo shrugs his shoulder, "You can talk to me about it whenever you want, just don't take long, I don't like to wait." She was about to say they have nothing to talk about before she heard the following interrupting her. "Anyway, since your progress in the basics is satisfactory, we'll start advanced Nen techniques training. I already taught you the theoretical knowledge, so we'll have a spar from time to time to make you more comfortable with using Nen in battle. Also, have you thought about what your ability would be like?" Then he continued to ask. "I'm still thinking about it. I have a general picture about what I want, but that's it," she answered without giving too much information. Let me guess, something that spreads chaos, something that only spreads further, bringing more and more chaos. A parasite should fit this description well. Is that what you're planning on conjuring?" Playfulness could be seen on his face as he seems to enjoy messing with her. Morena's face could help but twitch, then she let out a small pout. "You're so annoying." Then she allocated her aura to her hand, punching towards him. Yasuo looked startled as he caught the punch. "Well, that's cute. I certainly didn't expect that," he remarked as a faint smile painted his face. That embarrassed Morena even more, but calmed her down as she took deep breaths, getting her composure back. Then she walked back to the house. "Just what's wrong with him and what's wrong with me? I'm getting too comfortable with all of this." Yasuo was just left there stroking his earring. "It's going well, huh?" 2 months later. "Your physical capabilities are quite low and your compatibility with enhancement is low as well, so focus more on speed and just evade until you see a chance to deal fatal damage," remarked Yasuo while evading her attack. Then he punched at a speed only fast enough to make it a little bit hard for her. She barely evaded the punch and kept her distance from him. "Good, you were able to see the pattern of my attacks faster than last time. Most people have patterns that they either consciously or unconsciously follow, that extends to Nen abilities as well, and considering the kind of ability you want to make, then this is something you should always keep in mind. But you don't, and the only patterns I see are the ones you want me to see," remarked Morena while evading another punch, then took the chance to attack, since according to his current patterns of attacks, after this exact attack there will be a weak point. Except Yasuo changing his pattern at that moment wasn't taken into consideration, leading to him taking a completely different course of action that wasn't within her prediction, leaving her basically defenseless, considering she attacked to a place with him evading to another place, making her stunned. Since they started sparring, He always used a different pattern each time, teaching her how to use it to her advantage and how to predict the other's actions, but he never changes his pattern of attack in the middle of the spar, which explains her astonishment when he did. He placed his hand on her throat while explaining. The final lesson: the enemy may use his pattern to his advantage if he is aware of it, or create a pattern to trick the enemy, so while you should take patterns into consideration, don't ever let it be your only plan of action. Then he retracted his hand. Morena nodded and took a few deep breaths as sweat came down her face. She is wearing black sportswear with her blonde hair tied up. Yasuo lifted his hand and started patting her. But good job, your progress during the last month was quite good. Then he retracted his hand and asked, wondering, you didn't make your Hatsu yet, why? Morena let out a faint smile. I changed my mind on what kind of ability I want. So I'm still visualizing it. Hey hunters. Quick break time. Don't have anything to say, RN, so street your toes or something. And let's get back into the fanfic. Chapter 55. Morena let out a faint smile. I changed my mind on what kind of ability I want. So I'm still visualizing it. Yasuo raised his eyebrows. Oh, what changed your mind? She looked surprised. You don't know. A faint smile surfaced on his face as the latter came close to hers while holding her chin. Is it because of me? From how your heart is beating right now, it should have something to do with me, right? A smile full of mischief appeared on her face. I wonder? Aren't you the one who knows everything, so you tell me? Yasuo retracted his hand while letting out a small laugh. You've grown up, huh? Well, I'm enjoying this. Let's see. You aren't in love with me yet, but you're afraid of that happening, so you want to kill me. Morena's face couldn't help but twitch as a helpless look appeared on her face. You're really annoying, aren't you? Yasuo stroked his earring as he said, you know that doesn't make much sense, don't you? Morena nodded, saying, it doesn't have to make sense. If I feel like I need to, then I will. Suddenly, Morena was sent into a daze as Yasuo sealed her mouth with his slowly into a long kiss, and she didn't resist even after getting her bearing back, allowing herself to be carried away by the kiss. He ended the kiss withdrawing his face from her, then looking at her eyes. How does it feel? She looked dazed for a second before saying, you really want to make it harder for me, don't you? Absolutely, he said with a smile on his face, only for her to look at him blankly, then let out a sigh. Anyway, we should be about 2 hours away from the capital, so go take a shower. We'll stay in your house before taking over the Hylia family. Yasuo took a shower, then wore a comfy white sweater, black pants, and casual black shoes, then picked up his backpack and went out of his room and waited for Morena, who wore a short trench coat with a sweater under it and black pants. They left the airship, then took a cab heading towards Morena's house. Yasuo noted that much of the city has very traditional, oriental architecture, few modern skyscrapers as well. This bustling city, on the coast, seems like an expression of Kaken's rapidly changing place in the world, a somewhat foreign culture that is swiftly becoming a hugely influential and modern power in technology, economy, and politics. This is the Kaken Empire, a small country that was threatened to be absorbed by its neighboring countries. Around that time, the first king of Kaken conjured the seed urn and had his children fight in a succession contest for the throne, which is the foundation for Kaken becoming the superpower that it is today. Can you take over the family yourself in 2 months' time before the auction? Asked Yasuo after they reached the house. I think so. I gained quite a lot of followers before we meet, so taking over shouldn't be that much of a problem, if not for the big variable being the high-ranking member's abilities, but if I take my time, I should be able to do it in less than 2 months. She answered with confidence apparent in her voice. Then you can do it yourself, but if you have any uncertainty, make sure to let me know. She nodded. You won't try to stop if I want to do anything after I take over, right? You mean bringing chaos to the world? Nah, do what you want. Once you take over, just give me a seat in the auction, or better, let me know where the items are, and that's all I need. Why would you think I'd want to stop you? wondered Yasuo with genuine curiosity. Morena looked unsure but still said, "At first, I thought you don't care about anyone, but after seeing Aluka, it appears that there is someone you care about, so I don't know if you'll stop me when I kill others, since I'll need your help when using the ability I planned." Yasu let out a small laugh of amusement. "You said if I feel like I need to then I will, so do what you want as long as you don't hurt Aluka or anyone from my family, then I don't really care about anyone else. Also, is the ability you're planning that chaotic for you to ask me this question?" "Yes, at first I just wanted to create a parasite that brings as much chaos as possible while strengthening all of its hosts, but I changed my mind. It's still a parasite type Hatsu, but I want to focus all the strengthening on me, else I won't be able to keep up with you." Then a mischievous smile appeared on her as she continued, "But the ability is too dangerous for me, so I'll need your help quite a lot, so I didn't know if you'll help me, considering you'll basically be killing random and possibly innocent people." Yasuo narrowed his eyes in a thoughtful expression. "That sounds quite interesting, if what you planned works as I think it would then. But you'll owe me." She nodded, and as she was about to leave she heard something that stunned her. "I can erase the scars on your face. So if or when you feel like you want them gone, let me know." Morena touched the scars on her face with a dazed look as she started walking out. "Can I ever live without them?" Yasuo was left in a thoughtful expression with his earring shining in a green light, a light that disappeared as he stroked the earring. 45%, huh? That's interesting. Anyway, I should continue on creating my transmutation Hatsu. I should be able to finish it today. With that, an object flew from his backpack, a small transparent material. He used his amplification domain, creating a 10 meters bubble around him, then started manipulating his aura in order to give it the properties of this particular material. The material is aerogel, a synthetic porous ultralight material derived from a gel, in which the liquid component for the gel has been replaced with gas without significant collapse of the gel structure. The result is a solid with extremely low density and extremely low thermal conductivity. Even with its extremely low density making it extremely light, it is quite strong. A block of aerogel as large as a human may weigh less than a pound, yet it can support the weight of at least 1,000 pounds. Yasuo started trying to mimic its properties a while, but he found it quite hard since he wants to take it further. He wants to create aerogel threads similar to Maki's, but keeping the properties of aerogel while still being able to form other aerogel shapes. Considering the aerogel strength and density, then combining it with his control domain is basically overkill, since he will be able to manipulate the threads at high speeds, and if combined with him controlling them with his domain, then the speed will be astonishing, possibly surpassing the high hypersonic speed, 10 to 25 Mach, considering the threads will be near weightless. The Hatsu can be incredibly useful, especially in the Dark Continent, and it can serve as a long-range Hatsu since he will be able to manipulate it far beyond his domain. Though it won't be as fast and his control won't be as meticulous as in his domain, and he is planning on creating a sub-ability that will make it even more monstrous. Chapter 56. The Hatsu can be incredibly useful, especially in the Dark Continent, and it can serve as a long-range Hatsu since he will be able to manipulate it far beyond his domain. Though it won't be as fast and his control won't be as meticulous as in his domain, and he is planning on creating a sub-ability that will make it even more monstrous. There are many reasons Yasuo can create so many Hatsu without being afraid of stalling the growth of his other abilities. His enhancement and conjuration abilities need no training as they're straightforward. So he only needs to improve on his specialty Hatsu, which in itself improve his brain activity, preventing any possible memory overload. After all, his brain is receiving an astonishing amount of information while using it, an amount that only increased as his domain range increased, that made his multitasking abilities frighteningly high. Yasuo created several purple nen threads all around him with his domain focusing on the aerogel material floating in front of him, trying to mimic it. Slowly the purple threads started turning transparent while gaining physical shape. The process continued for hours until the threads turned completely transparent, surpassing the normal aerogel transparency. The Hatsu is done. Then Yasuo started observing the threads and doing several experiments on the ability. He came to a few conclusions. It's much stronger than normal aerogel, surpassing the strength of Maki's threads by far, and it's almost completely invisible. This is the benefit of transmutation. While one mimics the property of anything, one isn't limited by the limits of the mimicked thing. That allows Nen users to push their transmutation Hatsu far from what's normally possible, which means as Yasuo gets stronger and more proficient in the Hatsu, its strength will only continue to increase with its weight decreasing and the transparency property becoming invisibility and perhaps more. Yasuo then concentrated some of his aura in one place with the aura turning into Aranin in the shape of a dagger, then started manipulating around the room, noticing that since the Aranin dagger is not connected to him, it became weaker. This is similar to Maki's threads, since if the threads leave her fingers, their ultimate strength drops significantly. He sent an Aranin thread from his finger that made contact with the dagger, and as he poured his Nen through the thread, the dagger got its previous strength and manipulating it became much easier. Of course, that's only because he was using emission and manipulation to control it, and it got easier once his aura made contact with the dagger, adding transmutation to it. If he added his control domain to the equation, then that's a completely different story. Then Yasuo continued increasing his proficiency in his Hatsu while also expanding his domain range for the rest of the month. By the end of the month, the sound of steps was heard as a beautiful woman with 2 long scars on her face walked through a large building in the capital of the Kakan Empire. This is Morena Prudo. The large building is the headquarters of the Heil Li family, though the family only has about 200 members since the boss of the family has a lower status than the other 2 mafia families. The 2 families being the Shiyu family, which is led by Unyer Longbao, an illegitimate half-brother to King Nasabai. It enjoys the patronage of Prince Zhonglei. In terms of financial power and the number of henchmen, the Shiyu has most of all. And the Cha'ar family, which is led by Bracco Li, illegitimate half-brother to King Nasabai. It is supported by Prince Luzuruz. The boss of the Heil Li family, while an influential person in the underworld, still has no close relationship with the king, making his influence smaller than the other 2. Morena entered an empty room, then sat on a couch. Her expression was vacant thought. Confusion could clearly be noticed in her dark eyes. The last few months were really weird. I met a weird person who finds me attractive even with seeing through my personality, who treats me weirdly, which I'm not used to at all. He makes me feel like even in this filthy world, there is something I find to be beautiful. She closed her eyes. My point of view on the world might be flawed, but I never cared if it was, and I never felt like I needed to change this with him. Well, he is an exception, and that scares me when death can't. I'm scared of changing more than I already did, but I feel too comfortable around him to the point of forgetting about the darkness outside. I felt like I was only born in this world to destroy it, this unjust and utterly disgusting world. But perhaps there is more. Perhaps I'm born to kill him and follow after him, leaving a world that doesn't deserve him. He is superior. Or I can just destroy everything, leaving us alone. Am I getting crazier? Will he ever love me? I never believed in love, but am I falling in love? Will I ever be able to get rid of these scars? I know I can't now. He doesn't love me, and it appears it's too hard to make him fall for me even with how much he liked me, yet he is still making me fall for him with little to no effort, with just him acting in his own natural way. I know what kind of person he is, so if he ever leaves me, these scars will be my only sanctuary. A vacant still overwhelmed her face as she gently caressed the scars on her face. I feel suffocated, I don't know what to do. Suddenly the door opened, and with that, a faint smile replaced the vacant look on her face. A young dark-haired girl entered the room with a bottle of wine in her hand. "Boss, everyone is ready." Then she handed her the bottle. Morena took the bottle and opened it, then brought a very small syringe that has her blood. She injected a single drop of her blood into the bottle through the closure after using Shu on the syringe. Then she handed the string to the girl. "If this plan fails, then you know what to do. If that doesn't work either, then we'll start forceful takeover." The girl took the syringe and the bottle with a hint of determination in her eyes. "Yes, boss." Then left. Morena waited for a while with impatience on her face, hoping her first plan worked so she can go back home. And her plan worked as she felt her Hatsu activate. The moment Morena changed her mind about what kind of ability she wants and got the new picture of her new ability, she started visualizing it and only started creating it a month ago once they reached the capital, giving most of her time to creating it for this particular moment. She stood up and walked out of the building and took a seat at the back of her car. Then the chauffeur drove back home. Morena can hear the sound of another person in the house. It should be Aluka. She is able to teleport even from that distance? She noticed Aluka playing video games like always, with Yasuo lazily sitting on the couch with his eyes closed until they opened as he looked at her, then smile signaling for her to come close. Her face still had a faint smile as she walked towards him, then he indicated for her to sit on his lap, which she did, resting her head on his chest while letting a long sigh of relief. He circled his arms around her, bringing her closer. "You seem tense. Anything you want to tell me?" She looked at him with a vulnerable expression. "You're manipulating me and you're not hiding it. I don't mind much, but are you ever going to betray me? Are you ever going to leave me?" Chapter 57. He circled his arms around her, bringing her closer. "You seem tense. Anything you want to tell me? You're manipulating me and you're not hiding it. I don't mind much, but are you ever going to betray me? Are you ever going to leave me?" Yasuo started caressing her silky hair. That was taking a toll on your mind, huh? To answer your first question, no, if I ever felt like I need to betray someone I like as much as you, then I might feel like I failed myself, and that's not acceptable. As for your second question, that's unlikely, and if you make me fall for you, then that's impossible. His hand that was caressing her hair started caressing the two long scars on her face. "But you don't have to believe me now. When you do, and only then will I erase the scars, okay?" "N" is all the sound heard from her as she hugged him back, diving into his embrace, starting to doze off. "Do you want him or them alive or dead?" "Alive, just the boss and the vice boss." "You can sleep, just leave everything to me." With that, she drifted into the land of dreams under his gentle caressing. Aluka quieted down a while ago, noticing this scene, then she turned off the TV and the console, then went next to Yasuo, resting her head on his right shoulder as she dozed off. Yasuo closed his eyes, yet his domain is still active, enveloping an area of more than 260 meters radius around him, and what no one can see is the countless threads. Those threads were moving everywhere in his domain, with all of them connected to Yasuo's hair where his nen flows, forming more threads and extending the existing ones. These are Aranin threads, and it's not just normal people who can't see them, even nen users can't see them even with the use of Gyo. Yasuo trained his proficiency in his Hatsu for the last month to an astonishing degree, making Aranin completely invisible, with its strength increasing as well, and he found he can create them everywhere as long as his nen is available, but their strength is better if they're connected to him, such as now. Suddenly most of the arrow threads started moving further and further away from him, leaving his domain as he continued manipulating them without the use of his control domain. The threads moved further and further away, avoiding any obstacles in their way, as if he can see everything around them even though they're far away from his domain. And what could be noticed is some threads that are forming a small circle at their forefront, and they seemed to be observing everything around. This is due to the sub-ability he created for his Aranin Hatsu. He calls it Arrow-Eye, allowing him to see through the small circles of his arrow threads with a small drawback. Aranin. Yasuo mimics the properties of aerogel, turning his aura into an Aranin with an astonishing strength with a weight lighter than a feather, while also pushing the transparency property of aerogel, turning Aranin completely invisible even with the use of Gyo. Arrow-Eye, forming a circle with Aranin threads, allows Yasuo to see through this circle whenever it is, to the point of being able to see cells or possibly smaller things if Yasuo can create threads that small. The drawback of this ability is that Yasuo can't see using his eyes when it's in effect, but he can create as many Arrow-Eye as he wants, with the possibility of seeing through all of them at the same time, as long as he can handle all of the information he sees at the same time. The only reason he is okay with that drawback is because of his control domain. While he can't see using his eyes, he can see much more using his domain, allowing him to have the security to go ahead with creating such an ability. After all, he can't use them accurately beyond his domain unless he can see, and this ability eliminates this weakness. The most important reason, however, is when it comes to his portal's ability. He needs to feed Nen to the source portal, but he can create the destination portal anywhere he sees. So if he uses arrow eye to see miles beyond his domain, then couldn't he create a portal there? And if he is able to extend his arrow threads for hundreds of miles, then isn't he basically pushing the portal's ability into greater heights, turning it into a long-range teleportation ability as well? That alone makes the drawback negligible. Most of the arrow threads headed in a certain direction toward the headquarters of the Hyoli family, but the more distance the threads moved from Yasuo, the weaker they became. The exceptions being his domain, as it allows them to have the same power as long as they're within, and they've become considerably weaker considering the headquarters is more than 15 miles away from him. Yasuo observed the building for a while, knowing that while he can kill almost everyone in it using sneak attacks with his threads, catching the leader, who is Nen user, alive is much harder. But he knows he doesn't need to attack directly. From how Morena phrase it, it appears that the leader will come to him himself. After waiting for a while, that's exactly what happened as the leader exited the building with impatience on his face. Following behind him is more than 100 of his henchmen, with the vice boss following closely behind. Yasuo just observed them taking their cars heading towards him, and he allowed them to until they entered his domain and exited the cars. Terror overwhelmed the surroundings as people ran away, noticing all the Mafia members signaling the imminent storm. Except nothing happened, as every Mafia member froze, or more like their body froze against their will. That extended to even the boss is trying using Nen to move to no avail as sweat came down his face. This is the result of Yasuo using his arrow threads to manipulate all the target's movements like a puppeteer. Suddenly all of them started moving, with the boss and the vice boss heading towards the house and the rest standing in close proximity to each other. Until everyone fell down to the ground except the boss and the vice boss, though what could be noticed is that their eyes closed and the empty look on them signifying that they're unconscious. What he did is perceiving their brain causing small bleeding, making it shut down, knocking them unconscious without the risk of them dying, which is possible with the combination of his control domain and arrow threads. The resistance Aranin produces while being controlled by his control domain is much smaller than the resistance his body produces, which makes the Nen consumption so small. While he can cause similar effects with his domain alone, the consumption would be enormous that it's just not worth it. That's why in the past he mostly used the 2 daggers to kill. It's all about efficiency, and the efficiency of the Aranin combined with his control domain is beyond perfect. Once everything quieted down, several other cars stopped close to the bodies, with 2 trucks following behind. After being stunned seeing the scene in front of them, the tens of people started to pile the bodies, and the trucks then left once they cleaned everything. These people are Morena's followers. Yasuo controlled the 2 people to move to a certain room in the house, then closed his eyes, relaxing and waiting until Morena wakes up. Chapter 58. Morena ended up sleeping for more than 10 hours with a serene expression on her face, while Aluka teleported back home after waking up. Yasuo used all of that time to train his domain and Aranin until he heard a lazy yawn signifying that she is waking up. Yasuo opened his eyes as he started caressing her hair. Slept well? She lazily answered without moving away. Do you feel better? Too cozy to answer clearly, she just hummed the same answer. Good, if you ever feel even a little bit unpleasant then just come to me, okay? Morena lifted her head, looking at him in the eyes while letting a small smile. I will take you up on your offer. Always. Well, I will take that responsibility. Also, I put them both unconscious and I noticed them getting stronger quite quickly even though they're unconscious. Is this your Hatsu's doing? Morena nodded as she stood up and Yasuo followed. Yes. I will need them alive for quite a while and I think they will get much stronger as time passes. Oh, how long? A month exactly, Well, tell me about your Hatsu, and you should stabilize the family before the other mafia families take advantage of how weak the Heil Lee family is right now. Interesting. The auction is cancelled, huh? It's most likely Tsarednik's doing. Just how much did he pay to get them? He really is addicted to the collection of human body parts. Yasuo looked thoughtful as he stroked his earring while sitting on a chair in the Heil Lee family headquarters. Yes, he already has 8 Scarlet Eye pairs, and he almost cancelled his partnership with the Heil Lee family when he knew about the heist of the eyes back at York New City. Nodded Morena, who is sitting in front of him with her legs crossed. But it doesn't matter, I know their general location, so they're mine. A smile appeared on his face, though what could be noticed is that his eyes are completely white, making him look as if he is blind, and to a certain extent, he is blind, temporary. At the same time, far away, only a few miles away from the Grand Auction House, a small building could be seen, though what can't be seen is the countless threads moving discreetly around the building. Arrow threads under Yasuo's control, moving in pairs, a normal thread and a thread with a circle at its forefront that acts as the eye, observing everywhere. The searching continued for a while with no one coming into contact with the threads, since Yasuo manipulated them to move close to the roof until he found a locked vault with several guards watching all around. That didn't seem to pose any trouble to the threads as they started getting smaller and smaller, though it took a few minutes to do so, signifying the difficulty of changing the thread's size after he already created it, especially since it's far away. Once the threads reached a size small enough to pass through, it went through the gaps that would have stopped a speck of dust in its tracks. Then he observed the insides of the vault for a minute or so. He lifted his hand once he saw he wants inside, then focused his aura in front of his hand. He continued feeding more and more aura to the portal that started forming, and it ended up consuming a significant amount due to how far he wants to form the destination portal, and considering he is forming a portal with a diameter of 4 meters. Once the destination portal was completely formed, he retracted the rest of the arrow threads he doesn't need, then created new ones from his hand. The new threads went through the source portal only to appear in the vault. He manipulated the threads to move towards a large octagonal glass case and started circling around it until the threads completely enveloped it. Then he brought it through the portal with 2 small glass cases following closely after. Yasuo closed the portals while standing up as the pitch-black eyes came back after he stopped using Arrow Eye. A small smile painted his face as he observes the items with interest. The large glass case is filled with a certain fluid, stopping the body inside from decomposing. An eyeless brown-haired woman with the other 2 small glass cases having a scarlet eye within. This woman is a Korta clan member and the eyes are hers. Yasuo created 2 amplification domains, one on the woman and the other on the eyes. He sacrificed most of his domain doing so, then started observing their DNA closely for a while until he verified that they have the same exact DNA. Perfect. Morena stood up, then hugged Yasuo from behind, bringing a small smile to her face as she laid her head on his upper back. What's special about them aside from their eyes? That in itself is what's special about them, and the possibility that the eyes turning scarlet brings them some benefits. That's your passion? Researching things? Asked Morena, curious. She has been asking quite a lot of questions for the past month, getting to know him more closely. Yasuo stroked his earring with a glimmer of light in his eyes. I enjoy it. Researching anything interesting, observing how things react to other things is interesting to me, so yeah, it's my passion. Have you found yours? She let out a relaxed smile. I think I have. Yasuo turned around and hugged her back tightly. They stayed like that for a while until a smile of interest surfaced on his face. They just died. Then he created a large portal in which they went through. They appeared in a simple room. 2 beds could be seen there with several medical tools specifically for keeping people in a coma alive. On the beds are the ex-boss and the ex-vice boss of the Heil Lee family. Even with the equipment keeping them alive, their hearts still stopped near at the same time with no physical indicator of any health problem, and they look almost the same as they looked a month ago, yet they died suddenly as if it's predetermined. Morena's eyes shined as she looked at them, then started going towards them. Yasuo just observed what's about to transpire while noting that their nen hasn't disappeared yet, but it's slowly disappearing, while also making an estimated guess of their aura amount right now, amounting to about 60,000 aura units, with the vice boss having about 50,000 aura units. He also noted that most of the nen increase took place only in the last week, especially the past 24 hours. Morena looked at Yasuo, who nodded at her. "Don't worry. If anything unforeseen happens, I will stop the process." She took a deep breath and brought a small knife, then made a cut on the vice boss's hand, and with that blood flowed out. She extended her hand, touching the blood, triggering the final phase of her Hatsu as the body started drying up completely, with the blood flowing to the place she made contact with the blood, then disappearing into her hand. Yasuo walked behind her, then created an amplification domain around her, observing the activity of her body and nen, making sure everything is going well. Chapter 59. Yasuo walked behind her, then created an amplification domain around her, observing the activity of her body and nen, making sure everything is going well. Morena closed her eyes as she felt her nen pool increasing rapidly until the body transformed into a completely dry mummy, just about 12%. Yasuo kept observing for a while, seeing no complication. Don't see any problem, so go ahead." To which she nodded, then did the same to the boss's body, except her aura pool not increasing at all this time, yet that brought a smile to her face as she continued absorbing the blood. Yasuo walked towards the bodies, then used violet rose, erasing them while asking, "You got an ability?" A bright smile surfaced on her face as she lifted her hand while concentrating aura on it. The aura started turning darker and darker until it turned into a pitch-black smoke as she manipulated it to flow around. He is a transmuter who transmute his aura into a poisonous gas. It's not weak but not strong either. Yasuo raised his eyebrows, wondering, "You also get the previous owner's experience and abilities?" Morena nodded. "Yes, though I only got few fragments. I'm still not sure how it works." Parasite type Hatsu, conjuration, plundering parasite. Once the mother host infects someone with the parasite, which can only be done through her blood making contact with the target, the ability will start its effect. The parasite will start strengthening the target using the latter's lifespan gradually across the month, and the target will know the location of the mother host, Morena, at all times after 1 hour from being infected. The strengthening will depend on the target's remaining lifespan and potential, but mostly the latter, with the strengthening getting faster and faster as the month passes. The only way to cancel the ability is by killing the mother host, or if the mother host decided to cancel it. If the target succeeds in killing the mother host, the target will keep all the strengthening while absorbing the mother host's life force. The target will naturally know the benefits of killing the mother host. The target only has 30 days to kill the mother host. If the target can't, then either all of the latter's abilities or a small amount of the target's nen, the maximum amount possible being 50%, will be transferred to the mother host, which she needs to have contact with the target's blood in less than 2 hours after the target's death for the transfer of the abilities and power. The more time she takes, the less the benefits are, and if 2 hours pass, then there will be no benefits. There can only be 7 targets at a time. If the target dies before 30 days pass, then the ability will be cancelled and there will be no benefits for the mother host. Yasuo seemed thoughtful before saying, "If you choose 7 loyal subordinates of yours and infected them and cancelled your Hatsu after a few days, then you'll have 7 strong Nen users. Also, according to my observation from the last month, the more time passes, the faster they lose their lifespan. That's why the strengthening was slow at the beginning, so if you do the same on your subordinates, then you'll theoretically be able to forcefully initiate them to Nen and allowing them to become significantly stronger quite quickly." Morena thought about it for a second before nodding. "The hunter's exam is less than a month from now, so I will go soon to the appointment place. What will you do?" "I will stay here doing some experiments until you're done. Also, if you want to infect someone, let me know first, since the ability is quite dangerous. Also, I will see if there is any hunter that has an ability that can put people to sleep or forcing them to enter Zetsu or something similar for you to take, or make one of your subordinates create such an ability, then take it. Though the randomness of either increasing nen amount or getting abilities is troublesome, so you may have to try this a few times. After talking for a bit, Morena left, leaving Yasuo standing in front of the large glass case as the latter started to break down, leaving the woman floating in the air with the water surrounding her. He then isolated the water until she became dry. Yasuo controlled the two scarlet eyes, moving them into her eye sockets connecting the optic nerve and the blood vessels that are completely dry as the blood in her body is completely clotted. He created a small amplification domain, sacrificing most of his domain, then observed the dark energy in the eyes while also noticing that every cell in her body has this dark energy, though it's faint. He stopped his amplification domain, Hatsu Violet Rose M equals 1, T equals 5, then he started attacking the body as purple lines appeared on his arms. He used all the 5 seconds attacking with a horrifying speed. He observed the body. Once he finished, noticing its state became much better with the blood vessels healing gradually. Yasuo narrowed his eyes, then concentrated a large amount of aura on his hands, and he continued doing so for a while, then activated Violet Rose again, and as his hands went through the body, all of the aura he concentrated on his hands disappeared, though he didn't stop there as he continued attacking until the timer ended. Then a single heartbeat was noticed by Yasuo using his domain, a heartbeat coming from the dead body in front of him. The previously clotted blood turned fluid again as all the blood vessels in her body healed completely, and the same started happening to all of her organs. He again observed the dark energy, only to notice it's quite active, with the ones in the eyes being the most active. He noticed the dark energy coating about a quarter of the cells of her body. Yasuo then continued to use Violet Rose with a negative multiplier on the body for about an hour, managing to make her heartbeat continuously for a while. He observed the dark energy's behavior while also noting that the only difference between the body and a live person is the existence of a soul, which this body doesn't have. A glimmer of light passed in Yasuo's eyes as he stroked his earring. How long will I have to go to restore her soul? Or more like, how stronger will I need to be to basically bring people back from death in a short amount of time? A Hatsu that defies logic, huh? After observing how the dark energy interacts with the body's cells and coming to a few conclusions, the source of the energy in the eyes, since the energy spreads from them towards the rest of the body. He also did another experiment, transplanting normal eyes to the body, which made all activity of the dark energy in the body stop, which leads him to believe that the source of the dark energy is the scarlet eyes. And the eyes turning scarlet is a condition in itself, but for the eyes to work, they need to be in the body of a Korta clan member. That got confirmed once he transplanted other scarlet eyes that do not belong to the body but a pair from the ones he stole back in Yorknu City. So it should be possible if the dark energy identified me as a Korta clan member, but the question is, does it identify the host by the latter's DNA or by aura? A light of intelligence appeared in his eyes as he thought, if it's the first, then I will be much stronger than what I predicted. I'm already 100% sure the Korta clan is from the Dark Continent. Chapter 60. A light of intelligence appeared in his eyes as he thought, if it's the first, then I will be much stronger than what I predicted. I'm already 100% sure the Korta clan is from the Dark Continent. And if them gaining this power happened like I think it did, then there shouldn't be any unforeseen consequences, since I'll basically be stealing the power, but for that, I'll need to have full control of the dark energy, else I won't take the risk. The scarlet eyes flew to him as he created an amplification domain around them. I still can't control the energy even when it's active, but if it considers me its host, then it should be possible. A frown surfaced on his face for a split second, signifying his annoyance. Something I can't control, huh? But it makes sense considering its power is way out of my league. Then he created a small amplification domain, though this time he scanned his own body, specifically, his chest area where an energy extremely similar to the dark energy is concentrated. Good, it's still static, but I still can't control it, huh? It's good thing I only made a one-time use wish, else if I wished for a teleportation ability, then this uncontrollable energy may just be stuck with me for way too long. Then Yasuo continued to experiment on the Korta clan body while also training his proficiency in Aranin and his control domain and spending some time strolling around the city with Aluka until Morena came back. "How did it go?" asked Yasuo, who was leisurely sitting on the couch. Morena didn't answer as she walked towards him, then took a seat on his lap while circling her arms around his neck, looking at him in the eyes. "Too easy, but is that really what you want to ask?" Yasuo raised his eyebrows with a hint of amusement in his eyes. "Okay, did you miss me?" Morena didn't answer as her face started getting closer and closer to his, sealing his mouth in a passionate kiss, and Yasuo kissed back, hugging her tightly as she dived into his arms. A kiss that continued for minutes until he stopped the kiss, looking at Morena, who has a small blush on her face with a questioning look, wondering why he stopped. Yasuo, with a smile of satisfaction, stood up while picking her up with him in a princess carry. "I postponed doing this for a while until you make up your mind, until I erase the scars on your face." "Oh well." Then he took her into his room as Morena blushed, knowing what he wants to do. After all, this is something new to her, as she never thought she needs such a thing in her life. The only happiness she dreamt of is seeing this world burn to ashes, but he changed her mind. He gave her the satisfaction she needs across the entire night, bringing chaos to the bedroom as the moaning sounds continued for the entire night. He continued until she became completely exhausted, after which, he picked her up and took her to the bathroom, where they took a long and relaxing shower, then went back to the bedroom, which looked new since he changed the sheets with his control domain. They slept for quite a while, with Morena laying her head on his chest, clinging to him with a peaceful smile on her face. Yasuo only woke up by evening as he opened his eyes, looking at Morena, who is clinging tightly to him. He let out a genuine sigh of satisfaction. "It's really been a long time since I slept, but it's not bad to relax like this from time to time." It's been a few months since Yasuo had some sleep. He always thought that it's just a waste of time and he could enjoy himself doing other things instead of sleeping, so now that he doesn't need to sleep, he simply gave up sleeping. As for how, well, Yasuo's enhancement Hatsu Violet Rose is quite useful when he activates it with himself as the target while choosing negative multiplier and attacking himself. Then he can basically heal himself, which allows him to be in his top stat all the time. This works because when he activates his Hatsu, the purple lines appear solely on his arms, which means he can strike any other part of his body. And according to his observations, as long as continued to use the Hatsu on himself regularly, then he will be immortal, since the ability restores every cell to its prime state, except that there are a few variables that make him unsure. According to what he knows, once one reaches a certain age, one's Nen pool start decreasing, and he doesn't know if that's related to the body aging or with souls. If his cells never age, then his Nen won't ever decrease, but there is something that makes him unsure of this. The existence of the soul and its relation to Nen, and the fact that there are abilities that feed on people's lifespan, such as Kurapika's Emperor Time. This ability brings quite a lot of questions. How does the ability know his lifespan? What if he later takes Nitro Rice, extending his lifespan? Is one's lifespan already predetermined? Or else how can Kurapika's condition work, and does it take into consideration if one died because of external reasons, and if one received a serious injury that shortened one's lifespan, does that count? These are all things that make him uncertain if that really makes him immortal. And there is the question of whether his Hatsu can affect souls, specifically his soul, making it always in its prime state, and for that, he needs to test it. I didn't have that much time to test it, since such an experiment will take quite a while, but I guess I should get an old man on the verge of dying and try it on him. He noticed her waking up as he started caressing her silky blonde hair that spread out all over his chest. Good morning, after lazily saying that she went for a kiss, and Yasuo reciprocated the kiss into a warm long kiss. "Good morning, how are you feeling?" Yasuo brought her closer to him while asking. "Happy, content, at ease, and so much more. And exhausted," she said, clinging to him tightly. Yasuo let out a small laugh. "I'd heal you, but that'd also heal the scars on your face." Morena seemed thoughtful for a while, and Yasuo gave her time to think about it. "I decided, when you feel like you trust me enough to get rid of this purple mark, then you can get rid of the scars. Yasuo looked at the purple mark on her chest, the mark that was left by his Hatsu's sub-ability Delayed Rose. This mark signifies his ability to erase her whenever he wants, no matter how strong she becomes. I'd like to say I trust her, but I can't. I'm just that paranoid. I need to make her helplessly in love with me, and so far it's working well, which isn't that unpredictable considering her past and how cast aside she was. I also have to become strong enough for anything she may do to be useless, with my conjuration Hatsu acting as a backup plan. Yasuo said without a change of expression. That might take a while. I'll wait. But, you're making me too dependent on you, so if you ever decided to leave me, then just kill me, since I won't give you a second chance in my life. You are the first chance I gave to having an actual life, and you are the last. Yasuo just smiled hearing her words, something he already knows. I didn't plan on having any serious relationship, at least not this soon, but I enjoy my time with her too much. Enjoying my life and my soon-to-be immortal life is a necessity to me, else I'll feel like a failure, won't I? If there is something that'll make me happier than I already am, then why shouldn't I take it? A fulfilling, immortal life is my goal. Suddenly a laptop and a card swiper flew to him from another room, with the door opening allowing them to pass through. Then he used his domain to input the Hunter Trovin's URL and brought Morena's Hunter license, swiping it on it. Here, type your code. After Morena typed her code, he sent a few files to the Hunters Association. These files are some of the research he did across the years. Since he wants her to become a 1-star hunter quickly, he decided to use them to make it fast, since the Hunters Association has no rules against this as long as it's something new and useful for the organization. Yasuo sent some useful results he got from researching some abnormal animals and a new species he discovered in his travels for the Hermit's Scroll and other things. Chapter 61. Since he wants her to become a 1-star hunter quickly, he decided to use them to make it fast, since the Hunters Association has no rules against this as long as it's something new and useful for the organization. Yasuo sent some useful results he got from researching some abnormal animals and a new species he discovered in his travels for the Hermit's Scroll and other things. He called the new species Ryosil spider, giving it the name of the region he found it in and due to its similarity to spiders. It has 6 legs, with 2 of them being on its behind. They're quite large compared to the rest, which allows it to jump up to 2 meters, which is a lot considering it's only 2 inches long. It's extremely rare, as he ended up only finding 3, and that's due to his domain, since the ones he found lives in the cracks of trees at the top of it. As for when he became a 1-star hunter, he sent the formula of a strengthening potion, while not his best one, still useful nonetheless. He already fulfilled all of the requirements to become a 2-star hunter except having a 1-star student, so now he just needs to wait until the information he sent is verified, and also verifying if she is Yasuo's student, then the Hunter Association will send an invitation to him. When are you leaving? Wondered Morena. When they send the invitation. Your ability will grow more if you stay here, so expand the family and use your ability to make trusted members stronger. If any of them make a useful ability, then just let me know and I'll come to you, or better, if you manipulate them until they become willing to die for you, then you can take their ability quite easily. Just make sure to make few backup plans just in case. Instructed Yasuo, who stood up and started wearing his clothes. Morena did the same while nodding, though a hint of disappointment appeared on her face. Something Yasuo noticed as he walked to her, hugging her tightly and whispering to her ears. Don't worry, I'll come here regularly, and I will possibly be able to teleport here if something worked out as I think it would. Also, the invitation should come in about 10 to 15 days, so we have a lot of time. She hugged him back, letting out a smile. I'll also see if anyone can make a teleportation Hatsu. Aluka immediately appeared once they went out of the bedroom. Oni-chan, I couldn't teleport to you, I wanted to show you something. Yasuo let out a small laugh, noticing something with his domain. He brought her up, carrying her in his arms as the painting she was carrying floated in front of him. Something he found is that Aluka can teleport small inanimate objects with her while it's impossible to teleport animate objects. He looked at the painting in amusement. Oni-chan, what do you think? It's better than the last one, right? Right? What is painted on it is what appeared to be 3 people, a tall one with the other 2 being identical to each other with a big smiley face. They seem to be on a green hill holding hands with the tall person standing in the middle, though all the 3 people are basically stick figures, with the person on the middle having black hair and a black dot that should be the eyes. The only difference between the 2 small figures are their eyes, one having sky blue eyes and the other having large black eyes. "Me, you and Nanika, huh?" remarked Yasuo as he observed the painting. Aluka nodded repeatedly, showing pride in her newfound interest in painting. I worked hard painting a lot until I made this. It's better, right?" Yasuo started patting her, letting out a small laugh. "Well, there is progress." That made her pout. "Meanie. Hee, I'm just joking. Good job," he said while pinching her cheek. "Why, of course, I worked hard, so it's only natural I'll do a good job." Aluka nodded with a wide smile, showing her white shining teeth. Yasuo spent his time relaxing and doing a few experiments until he received the invitation from the Hunters Association. Then he headed to the room where the Kortak clan woman's body and eyes and all of his tools are placed. Once he reached the room, he started creating 2 arrow threads while using arrowi on one of them, then manipulate them out of the house, then towards the coast in the direction of the Enrica continent where the Zoldyck family resides. Once the forefront of the threads moved a little bit further from the coast, he concentrated his aura in front of him, manipulating it in a certain way until a small portal appeared in front of him. The portal that continued to get bigger and bigger until it had a diameter of 2 meters, with the destination portal appearing in front of the arrowi thread. He created several other threads, then attached them to all the items he is taking with him, since the consumption is lower this way than directly controlling them with his domain. He closed the portals after going through them, then attached an arrowi thread to a rock in the bottom of the ocean below him with the other side of the thread still in his hand. Then he flew with his top speed until he reached a few miles away from the coast of the Enrica continent. Yasuo closed his eyes while concentrating his aura and activating arrowi, looking through the thread he left at the coast of the Azia continent. Slowly in front of him, a small portal started appearing in front of him, with the destination portal appearing in front of the arrowi he left underwater. Water started to flow out from the portal until he closed it. Yasuo's face couldn't help but twitch, noticing the massive consumption needed to create such a small portal. Yasuo seemed thoughtful for a while. The distance between the 2 continents surpassed 10,000 miles, so it kinda makes sense. But it's worth it. If I create arrowi threads to every continent, then I'll basically be able to teleport everywhere, though I'll have to keep emitting the threads at all times, which will cause a bit of nen loss continuously, and I'll have to go back to where I place the threads and touch them to activate arrowi. Also, there is the problem that the threads will be quite frail considering I'll be away from them, and if anyone cuts it, then the whole thread will disappear. He looked thoughtful for a while before flying towards Kukuru Mountain after attaching the thread to a rock underwater. He put all the stuff in his lab, then flew again towards the headquarters of the Hunters Association, which didn't take long considering it's on the same continent, residing in the Mimbo Republic, one of the 5 main leaders of the world V5, specifically in Swordani City. Yasuo walked into the Hunter Association's HQ, which is the tallest building in the city with the hunter symbol at its top front. "Hello sir, how may I help you?" asked the front desk receptionist, noticing Yasuo heading her way. "Hi, I'm Yasuo Zoldyck. I received an invitation to the Hunter Association's HQ, answered Yasuo while handing her his hunter license, which she received then verified, bringing a trace of surprise on her face. "Please wait a moment sir." She then made a call, and shortly after a woman in a uniform similar to the receptionist, "Sir, please follow me, the association's chairman is waiting for you." Yasuo nodded and followed after her. The guide opened the door that closed it once Yasuo entered the room. Netero could be seen standing next to the large glass window while stroking his beard. "It's been a long time since we first met, huh?" Yasuo walked until he stood next to him. Well, it's been a while. Netero looked at Yasuo, narrowing his. He is in the state of 10, yet I can't see a thing except that his 10 is extremely refined with an air of serenity and tranquility around it. He has become much stronger. As he thought of this, a bright light surfaced deep in his eyes. Ho ho, you've grown up, remarked Netero, who was observing Yasuo with glittering eyes as if he found a marvelous gem. And you haven't changed, in fact, you became weaker, responded Yasuo with a smile on his pale face. Netero's face couldn't help but twitch. Underestimating people is not a good thing, you know. I'm not underestimating you though, I just stated what I observed. Ho ho, well, I'm old after all. Netero let out a small laugh after thinking about something interesting. Chapter 62. Netero's face couldn't help but twitch. Underestimating people is not a good thing, you know. I'm not underestimating you though, I just stated what I observed. Ho ho, well, I'm old after all. Netero let out a small laugh after thinking about something interesting. Suddenly the door opened with someone entering, a woman of average height with seafoam green hair cut at medium length. She wears a headdress that has a pair of dog-like ears, a conservative, knee-length white dress, and a white caplet with a cross at the front of the neck. Her upper jaw and nose also look like those of a dog. This is Cheeto Yorkshire, a triple-star disease hunter, and a member of the Zodiacs with the codename Dog. Mr. Yasuo? We already prepared the 2-star hunter license and updated your information in the database. If you can please hand me the 1-star hunter license, said Cheeto while handing him the 2-star hunter license. Yasuo nodded and handed her the 1-star hunter license after taking the 2-star one. If you don't mind giving me some of your time, I'd really like to talk about how you created that potion. Also, I tried contacting you through the hunter's website but you never responded. And do you have any other ideas? Did you find anything new? Are you interested in specializing in the medical field? Cheeto threw a barrage of questions at him with expectation in her eyes. Yasuo raised his eyebrows in wonder. Is she the one who sent tens of messages to me? Oh well. I rarely visit the hunter's Traven and I never check my inbox except in cases like this, so sorry. As for... Yasuo was about to continue answering before getting interrupted by Netero. Cheeto, why don't you leave this for another time? I need to talk to him alone, stated Netero while stroking his beard. Cheeto had a disappointed look on her face but complied nonetheless, leaving only Yasuo and Netero in the room with the latter saying, "Don't mind her eagerness. She has a good heart and seeks advancement in the medical field, so seeing your research results, she wanted to work with you. So what kind of person are you?" Yasuo let out a smile, a very simple one. I go by what interests me and what I like. A bright light appeared deep in Netero's eyes, and I'm the same, but what interests me is finding a challenge, and you might just be a challenge, so how about a spar? Straightforward but not unexpected, thought Yasuo before saying, How about an exchange? I will fulfill what you want by giving you a challenge, and in return, you'll make me a 3-star hunter but without all the responsibilities. Netero's face twitched only for a smile of amusement to appear on his face. Quite greedy, huh? Let's change the terms a little bit. If we ended up on a draw or you defeat me, I'll fulfill your request. How about it, you agree? Sure, directly answered Yasuo, to which Netero raised his eyebrows. You're that confident, huh? Well, follow me. They walked until they reached the elevator, where Netero swiped a card he has on him on the card swiper attached to the elevator, then clicked on the number 0 3 times. Then the elevator started going down for a while. What appeared in front of them is an extremely large metallic underground room. This is the Hunter Association's specialized training room. Only 3-star hunters and the Zodiacs are allowed here. They walked towards the middle of the large room that has a space of at least 4 square miles. They stood a few meters from each other, with Netero saying, "Let's start with a little warm-up to judge each other's strength." While saying that, Netero started outputting his aura, creating a large whirlwind around him until it enveloped him peacefully. This Ken and Yasuo did the same without answering. The white transparent aura faces the dark purple but tranquil aura. They observed each other's aura, getting as much information as possible from how it behaves, with Netero narrowing his eyes as a burning fire lit up within them. From what I can see, he is stronger than me. His aura pole is at least, and his control over his aura is perfect, managing to form his can without giving much information and with no waste of aura I can detect. Perhaps this will be more of a challenge than I thought, especially considering how polished his aura is. Rarely do I see Nen users who focus on polishing their aura. After getting his domain range to a satisfactory level, Yasuo gave more time to refining his aura, which is something he never tried before, since he thought the results will be better if his aura pool is much larger, and the fact that he gave most of his time to training his other abilities, especially his control domain. Refining his aura produced a remarkable effect of concentrating his aura more, giving him more room to grow. But the only noticeable effect is increasing his aura's power, which means the damage he deals with the same aura output now is better than before he refined his aura, though not by much. Yasuo noticed a while ago that when training to expand his aura pool, it became much slower to do so as his aura pool became larger and larger. It was as if he is reaching his limits, or his body is reaching its capacity limit, making the process of expanding his aura pool slower and slower. If he had to estimate, he'd say his aura pool limit is around 500,000 to 600,000 aura units, though he can push it further if he refined and polished his aura more. For him to reach that degree, he will need to solely concentrate on increasing his aura pool for tens of years, so he decided to take a shortcut. They looked at each other, signaling the start of the fight before disappearing, only for a thunderous sound to reverberate across the room. The sound coming from the impact produced by their fist making contact, only to be followed by another booming sound as Yasuo sent a kick towards his opponent, only for Netero to use his free hand to block while allocating as much aura on it as possible, yet he still ended up getting thrown a few meters away. He performed a flip in the air, landing on his feet while narrowing his eyes. He is fast and possibly faster than me, though I don't know how fast his attacking speed is or how much power he used in this exchange, and neither does he. This first exchange was but a mere test for them to estimate the other's strength, and what is coming next is them testing each other's limits without the use of their abilities and how far they need to go before inflicting fatal damage on the other. Netero got into a punching position only to vanquished in the next second, punching towards Yasuo with a speed much faster than the last exchange. He appeared close to Yasuo while punching with a speed reaching 0.5 Mach. Yasuo casually avoided the punch while making his hands sharp, then attacking with a speed only a little bit faster than Netero, with the latter also avoiding the punch. The routing continued, with their speed increasing and the aura they allocate when attacking increasing as well, with Yasuo always having the advantage. Something they both noted is how peculiar the other's aura is, extremely quiet and controlled. This is one of their strongest points, as it is impossible to read their next move from it, though that only applies to Netero. Yasuo always keeps his domain active, never stopping the ability, so it's only natural for him to keep it in such a situation, though he is only using it to sense things around him without controlling anything. The ability that allows him to sense anything in the domain also allowed him to detect the smallest movements in the opponent's muscles, blood, heart, allowing him to predict the latter's actions. Though not significantly when observing someone like Netero, who has good control over his muscles, but there is enough movement for Yasuo to predict most of his actions. And this is something Netero noticed, narrowing his eyes while evading the chop coming towards him. He can predict my actions? I haven't managed to land any hit on him, while most of his attacks almost hit me, if not for me increasing my speed significantly each time, but he doesn't seem to need to increase it as much as he evades before I attack, forcing me to change my attack pattern. Netero didn't stop the exchange as he tried to find how he can be seen through, only to come to the conclusion that he is using an ability of his. Chapter 63. Netero didn't stop the exchange as he tried to find how he can be seen through, only to come to the conclusion that he is using an ability of his. As their speed increased, They started clashing with Yasuo using only punches as the sound coming from the impacts resounded through the room, with Netero having a harder time receiving Yasuo's attacks. The two men disappeared, only appearing for split seconds before disappearing again, leaving the sound of the wind that howled celebrating their disappearance. As their speed approached the speed of sound, only after images and the sound of their clashes could be perceived. That continued for a while until Netero reached his top speed, yet Yasuo's speed kept increasing, with Netero still able to keep up. While Netero's overall movement speed stopped increasing, his hand speed still getting faster, managing to block Yasuo's attacks, though the impacts made him lose his balance for split seconds. And there is something else that is increasing as well, the power of their attacks that started making the ground shatter around them. And as the pressure around them continued to increase, even the metallic ground beneath them started cracking with each step they took due to the massive amounts of aura they concentrate on their feet. Yasuo looked at the punching coming towards him while evading, forcing Netero to change its direction and increasing its speed, only for him to retract the punch, noticing the kick coming towards him. He blocked the kick using both his arms while allocating just enough aura to stop the attack, though it still moved him from his place, only for him to get his balance back almost instantly. Suddenly Yasuo's speed increased substantially while attacking, causing Netero's eyes to widen. The Zolps really created a monster, thought the latter while trying to keep a distance, though Yasuo forced him to be on the defensive side. Yasuo focused fully on the fight, making sure to get all the information he can from Netero's fighting style using his control domain. After all, there is bound to be something to learn from someone as experienced as Netero, which will allow him to perfect his fighting style even more, if that's even possible. Once Yasuo thought he learned all he can from the closed ranged fight, he decided to start the real fight, so he concentrated some of his aura on his hands, making Netero narrow his eyes. Yasuo used his top pure speed without controlling himself with his domain, as he looked as if he teleported, with Netero only having enough time to allocate most of his aura on his available hand, only for him to get sent back for tens of meters back. Even with that, Netero still landed like a feather as he looked at the bruise on his arm with a frown. His overall speed is faster than mine, but his hand attacking speed is only a little bit faster. Netero then started taking off his traditional man's kimono, as he appeared to be wearing other clothes beneath it, a t-shirt with the word heart/mind printed on the front, and track shorts. Netero started walking towards Yasuo with a big smile on his face. "You're an enhancer just like Zig. When we first meet I really didn't think you're an enhancer. I thought you'd either be a transmuter, conjurer, or a manipulator and possibly a specialist, but I guess I'm wrong. So let's up the game a little bit, shall we?" As he finished talking, Netero clasped his hands together in a fluid motion, as if in prayer. What followed is two golden arms emerging from his shoulders, with another two emerging just a little bit below the previous ones as well. That formed an extra 4 golden arms, with the 2 real hands clasping together as if in prayer, with the 4 golden ones forming Jhana Mudra hand gesture, making him look as if Buddha's incarnation, 6-armed Buddha. And with a wide smile, he continued saying, "This is fun, but even though I like challenges and I might be satisfied with losing sometimes, this is not one of them. I don't see myself liking losing at all, so I'll start using my abilities gradually, and you can use your ability if needed. Also, this is a warning, I won't hold back in my attacks, nor should you, and don't worry, there is a few Nen users here with healing ability Su." Yasuo observed the golden hands with interest, still not using any of his abilities except keeping his domain active. "It's actually transmutation. Does that mean that the 100 type Guanyin Bodhisattva is also partly transmutation? Then what does he transmute his aura into? Is it?" Yasuo seemed thoughtful, as if not paying any attention, which didn't affect Netero, as he stayed true to his own words. He used his top speed, disappearing only to appear close to Yasuo with the 4 golden arms coming down on the latter with his full power. Yet Yasuo evaded, though it looked as if he barely evaded. Netero narrowed his eyes. He started evading only when the attacks got close to him, when it got just close enough so he can evade without any extra movement. He calculated the time needed to evade in that short of a time, or does he have an ability that helps in that regard? Well, the ability didn't start yet, so it won't be as easy for him later on. Yasuo again noticed with his domain one of the left golden arms attacking in his direction. He allocated just enough aura on his feet to leap backward, evading the sudden attack. Yasuo narrowed his eyes, noticing something interesting. Is it just a bluff? Or is that how this ability works? I will need to test it out more while staying cautious. Those arms scream of danger. Netero again attacked, this time attacking with his right hand only for two golden hands to follow and surpass it, attacking towards Yasuo, who evaded while trying to attack, only to notice another golden hand striking towards him, though this one is slower than the other two. Yasuo again leaped back, coming to a conclusion. If he attacked using his real arms, the speed of the golden hand become much faster, surpassing his top attacking speed, else the hands will have a slightly faster attacking speed than him. Also, from what I've seen, the speed enhancement only applies to two of the golden hands unless he is setting up a trap for me. He again leaped back while thinking, the two golden hands give me more sense of danger than the other two, so it's safe to assume that not only is the speed increase, the power also increases, and massively at that. Yasuo started using his top speed a while ago, yet he still has a hard time avoiding the attacks, and blocking them could potentially be dangerous, and he noticed something. The longer the fight went on, the faster Netero's attacks became. That made it harder and harder for him to evade all six arms, and while he can keep a distance that won't allow him to attack himself and for emission attacks. As Yasuo retreated, he started concentrating his aura close to his hands, forming two dark aura spheres, then swung his hands, hurling the two spheres towards Netero, who is coming toward him. And as soon as he sent them, he followed after them, intending to take the chance to make a successful attack. Until he stopped his track while narrowing his eyes, noticing the scene in front of him. Netero, who noticed Yasuo forming the aura spheres on his hands, clasped his hands together, and as the two spheres got within his reach, he waved his hands to his sides, and with that, the two upper golden hands started moving, performing a 360-degree circle, dragging the two spheres gently with them, then sending them back almost instantly towards Yasuo, who crouched, barely avoiding them considering their speed became much faster. As soon as Netero sent back the spheres, he followed after them, punching with the two of the golden hands, with their speed becoming much faster towards Yasuo, who had to evade again, though barely, only for his eyes to widen, noticing something with his domain. Another two golden arms punching towards him with a speed 2 times faster than the other two, as his sense of danger screams to him to evade, except he can't. It's much faster than his top speed unless we add his control domain to the equation. Chapter 64. Another two golden arms punching towards him with a speed 2 times faster than the other two, as his sense of danger screams to him to evade, except he can't. It's much faster than his top speed unless we add his control domain to the equation. As Yasuo concentrated his aura on his feet, leaping back trying to evade, except that the two golden punches are coming towards him much faster than his retreating speed, only for something unusual to happen, making Netero narrow his eyes. As the punches got closer to Yasuo, the latter suddenly accelerated to an astonishing degree, leaving the range of the golden hands. He seemed to be flying back until he stopped, only after leaving a distance of tens of meters. A weird smile surfaced on Netero's face seeing this scene. He really was able to evade it, though barely, and I finally forced him to use his ability, but I didn't get much information about it, huh? I wonder, will he force me to use zero hand? Should I use it if I was forced to? But he will die if I did, unless he survived? I really want to find out if he can survive it. Then he started walking towards Yasuo. While Netero is thinking about the previous, Yasuo was noting what he observed from the previous exchange. I can safely estimate that his attacking speed is near the hypersonic speed and should roughly be about 7.5 Mach, and my attacking speed is a little bit faster than that, while my overall speed is much faster than his. Yasuo then observed the golden hands. In the last exchange, the two upper golden arms reached a speed of about 10 Mach, which I can keep up with to a certain extent. The problem lies in the two golden arms in the middle. Their speed is much faster, reaching nearly 16 Mach. I had to push my control to its limit to retreat safely. After all, according to what I tested recently, the combination of my muscle force and control domain allows me to reach a speed of nearly 13 to 14 Mach, and the sense of danger they give me is even more than the other two golden arms. A bright light appeared deep in Yasuo's eyes as a smile surfaced on his face. This is the most important reason why I'm here, to try to mimic and learn from the most powerful Nen user, to try mimicking his abilities that are too useful to miss. Then Yasuo also started walking towards him while forming similar arms to Netero's using his Aranin, something Netero noticed because while he can't see the Aranin due to its invisibility, he can still roughly sense it, making the invisibility property useless to a certain extent on people like him. While I can make similar shapes using transmutation as well, they won't have the same power and properties as Netero's, especially with something like the technique he is using now. Mimicking it is impossible. Well, it's possible, but I will only be able to mimic its base form without any enhancement in speed or power. But what I'm interested in is the 100 type Guanyin Bodhisattva, since I want to create something similar, but it will take too long to perfect unless I already have a model to mimic. Abilities such as this one are hard to impossible to mimic since there are risks and conditions applied to them, so it's better to create one from scratch. That's why I found it quite easy to mimic the portal's ability. It's quite simple with no condition that's uncopyable, so it all comes down to if one is able to mimic how Nen behaves. And getting hit or having a taste of the ability is also a requirement, allowing one's Nen to have a deeper knowledge of what it's gonna mimic. As Yasuo walked towards Netero, he noted something else. His control domain is too Nen consuming, so if he just kept evading while controlling himself to make his speed faster, he will be on the losing side. And from what he can see, the ability Netero is using doesn't look that consuming, and he is sure its consumption is nowhere near his control domains if he pushes it, which he will have to do if he wants to evade the middle golden arms. That's why he wants to use Aranin, since the consumption is negligible relative to his aura pool. Yasuo formed 4 extra arm pairs spurting from his back, though they're a bit longer than normal arms, giving him an extra 8 arms. Once they got close to each other, they both attacked while allocating aura to their hands, as all the extra arms followed attacking as well. Except for the 2 golden middle arms that he instead manipulated it, placing them on his head, triggering another part of his ability. A transparent golden barrier appeared surrounding him with only a few cm distance between it and his skin. And with that, the sound of collision resounded through the underground room, with Netero being the one sent back. Though Yasuo didn't escape unscathed, as the only reason he stayed in his place is because of the Nen threads connected to the metallic ground keeping him in his place. Yasuo just stood there weirdly closing his eyes. Even in this situation, even with his right arm completely fractured with blood dripping to the ground, the same arm he blocked the attack with. An attack that wasn't supposed to happen, considering he wasn't within Netero's range yet, while the latter was within Yasuo's range, since the arms he created are much longer. Suddenly one of the golden arms dispelled as the remaining golden arm started getting bigger until its size tripled. Then he manipulated it to strike towards the metallic ground, resulting in friction that stopped him in his tracks, the same thing he used to attack Yasuo even though the latter wasn't within his range. Netero got his balance back and again started walking towards Yasuo, then while doing so deactivated the golden barrier around him, only to use another golden hand to create the barrier again. The difference being is using only one of the upper golden arms to create it instead of the strongest middle golden arms. Ho ho, I was wondering what I sensed, so to be safe I used my full defensive ability, but after receiving the attacks, I'm pretty sure they won't get through the lowest level barrier. Whatever you transmuted your aura that has invisibility property, while it seems strong and fast, its offensive abilities aren't that significant. It seems I have the advantage," stated Netero while stroking his beard with a glimmer of light in his eyes. Yasuo just let out a smile while looking at his completely broken arm with a thoughtful expression. "Interesting. I don't know exactly what you transmuted your aura to, but I can make few assumptions. Is it something illusionary? Like your power of belief or something similar?" Netero let out a small weird laugh until a dignified expression surfaced on his face. Something similar, but it's real. I believe it is, so it's very real. A bright light appeared deep in Yasuo's eyes as he looked at his arm with a peculiar look. Of course it is. Nen is fascinating, isn't it? Making dreams come true, manifesting one's imagination, and there are only a few things that limit it. Talent and hard work, imagination. And most importantly, one's mind and will. While saying that, he started concentrating his aura on his left arm. Violet rose M equals 1, T equals 0.2. He activated his Hatsu while striking towards his heart area with his hand going through it and all the aura on it disappearing completely. He retracted his hand as purple lines started spreading all over his body, especially on his right arm. They kept spreading for half a second after the timer ended as he felt the shattered bones connect together with the purple lines guiding them, with all the wounds shining purple as they rapidly closed until the arm completely healed. This is something Yasuo learned recently. If he applied the negative multiplier and used the ability on himself, he can decide on which place the restoration process will focus on, like now. He focused most of the restoration on his damaged arm, which allowed him to heal it completely, though the consumption is significant. That brought Netero out of his contemplating. Hearing Yasuo's words, he narrowed his eyes, seeing the following scene. Yasuo closed his eyes, concentrating on all the Aranin arms. Chapter 65. That brought Netero out of his contemplating. Hearing Yasuo's words, he narrowed his eyes, seeing the following scene. Yasuo closed his eyes, concentrating on all the Aranin arms. Slowly, 8 arms started manifesting themselves in a dark purple but transparent color. As a few of them started changing shapes, they turned into spear shapes, leaving few with their original shapes. Yasuo observed all the Aranin shapes spurting from his upper back with a glimmer of light in his eyes. So sacrificing the invisibility property temporarily increased its power to a certain degree, and getting hit by his ability allowed me to perfect my Aranin a little bit more, so that's A+. Netero narrowed his eyes, then again replaced the barrier using the strongest middle golden arm, since he deemed Yasuo's ability dangerous enough for him to do so. The air around them changed as an imposing surrounded them, extending its clutches to the whole room. The walls seemed to tingle in fright of the approaching storm, as even the metallic reinforced walls provide no sense of security against them. They started walking towards each other with their perception heightened to its limits. Netero manipulated 2 of the golden arms to spread their palm high above him, and slowly above them, 2 golden spheres started taking shape, slowly enlarging. Once they reached a certain size, the golden arms started performing a circle, moving at an extreme speed, with the spheres still being emitted close to the golden palms. Yasuo happened to be doing the same, emitting 2 dark spheres while using his control domain to put pressure on them, making them as dense as possible. Their speed started increasing gradually until they completely disappeared after hurling the spheres they emitted, except for the direction they sent them to being different. Netero using the force of the circular motion to hurl the spheres at Yasuo with an earth-blowing speed, with the latter sending the spheres in a random direction, much to Netero's dismay. Though that didn't distract him, as kept an eye on the spheres just in case while closing in on Yasuo. Netero dispelled one of the golden arms, allowing another one to become much bigger. Then he prepared to use it to clutch to the ground, noticing Yasuo's Aranin spears already attacking towards him, since their range exceeds his by far. Yasuo crossed his arms together while closing his eyes. He didn't move at all, even with the 2 golden spheres coming towards him, though what moved is the purple transparent arms. He manipulated them to get in the sphere's way while fusing together, forming a large shield in front of him. He attacked using the remaining Aranin spears from several meters away as he started forming several other spears. While he temporarily removed the invisibility property from his Aranin, the resilience and the lightweight properties are still there. That allows him to manipulate it easily, pushing it to an extreme speed due to its negligible weight. With the combination with his control domain allowing him to push its speed even further, surpassing Netero's middle golden arm's speed but not their power. The impact between the Aranin purple shield and the golden spheres produced a thunderous sound through the room, with the shield dissolving due to not being able to handle the blast, causing the ground all around it to disintegrate. The ground further away was cracking, but the shield fulfilled its purpose, protecting Yasuo from the aftermath of the impact. Yasuo, while still closing his eyes, controlled all the spears to pierce towards Netero and continued to form more Aranin arms, spears, and threads. Netero frowned looking at this as he started manipulating the golden arms to attack towards the spears, only managing to dissolve a few, with the remaining successfully striking the golden bubble surrounding Netero. The clanging sound reverberated through the room repeatedly as Yasuo continued his unending streak of attacks, still standing in his place with his hands still crossed. Netero also seemed to be standing in his place with a bright smile on his face, an expression unusual for someone in his situation, as the only reason the attacks didn't move him from his place is the golden arm that went deep into the ground, acting as the anchor to the boat, keeping him in his place. Even with all the attacks, the golden barrier is still completely intact, as if it's indestructible, yet that didn't faze Yasuo one bit. He continued his barrage of attacks while Netero kept trying to close the distance for Yasuo to be within his range, while also keeping an eye on the two spheres hovering at each side of the room, which leads him to make a few assumptions about Yasuo's abilities. Yasuo looked at this scene with serenity in his eyes while forming even more spears. Countless large threads seem to be flowing all around him, with his upper back as their source, and their forefront is shaped like spears with some as arms. More of such threads keep spurting from his back, making him look like an unstoppable deity, not allowing anything to come close to him, as he controlled them to continuously attack Netero from a range of more than 20 meters. The exchange continued, with the sound of the impacts only sounding a while after each attack, signifying just how fast Yasuo's attacks are. "It seems I have the advantage. You won't be able to get close to me, and it will only be harder as time goes on. Also, nothing is perfect, so it's only natural your golden barrier isn't as well." Yasuo didn't stop attacking while talking, as his confidence could clearly be noticed. "It's safe to assume that your barrier isn't indestructible. There is just an upper limit one need to exceed to destroy it, and that limit is way higher for the middle golden arms than the upper arms, which is why you decided to switch from the latter to the current middle golden arm you are using now." Yasuo's words didn't seem to faze Netero, but what the words mean for him is something he has to consider. It's also safe to assume that each time the barrier blocks an attack, and depending on its strength, it consumes your aura, or at least there is a certain aura consumption for continuously keeping the barrier active, so this is a losing game for you. As Yasuo finished talking, Netero furrowed his eyebrows, sensing something befitting someone with his experience. He acted quickly, sensing the danger coming towards him. He retracted the long golden arm he used as an anchor, then as several Aranin spears attacked him, creating an impact on the barrier and the pushing force he needed to avoid the incoming danger. Netero was sent back for more than 100 meters, though that didn't seem to be an issue for him, as that allowed him to avoid the two dark spheres that were approaching at an astonishing speed under Yasuo's control. Until Netero avoiding the two spheres didn't perplex Yasuo. After all, Netero is still within his domain, and so as the two spheres. That explains why the spheres followed after Netero without a change in their speed, forcing him to fuse the three remaining golden arms together and attack towards the spheres. Netero deemed trying to redirect the spheres towards Yasuo like last time useless, considering the latter can control them, so he decided to dissolve them, or at least make the blast far enough as to not affect the barrier. Netero's action led Yasuo to believe in his theory even more and decided to force him into showing his next ace card. He controlled one of the spheres to move out of the golden arm's way and attack from Netero's side, while letting the other sphere go directly towards Netero, forcing the latter to either receive one of the spheres with the golden barrier or defuse the fused three golden arms and attack both spheres, except that the latter will force him to receive the aftermath of the blasts of both spheres. And Netero chose the latter, leaving the two upper golden arms fused while using the remaining middle golden arm to strike the other sphere, allowing him to minimize the damage to the barrier significantly with only small cracks appearing on it. The cracks disappeared in the span of 5 seconds as he closed his eyes as if meditating with an air of serenity surrounding him. Yasuo didn't attack any further as he opened his eyes, though he didn't retract all the purple arrow threads since he knows what's about to come. Time seemed to slow down as Yasuo entered a state of absolute focus, observing with his domain how Netero's Nen behaves. While Yasuo can shape his Aranin however he wants and manipulate it, possibly creating something like Netero's 100 type Guanyin Bodhisattva, it will still be an only surface level imitation. Okay. Short break. Hunters. You've made it this far, which means you're either really invested, or too lazy to hit pause lol. But it's part 3, so don't know how that would work. Anyway. Let's keep going. Chapter 66. While Yasuo can shape his Aranin however he wants and manipulate it, possibly creating something like Netero's 100 type Guanyin Bodhisattva, it will still be an only surface level imitation. What he wants is something special, something that suits him and complements his other abilities, but he needs a foundation to build it with the Aranin as the material and the fight as an inspiration. Netero with his eyes closed started walking towards Yasuo, closing the distance, his bearing giving the illusion of a golden fire enveloping him, indicating the fire he has built over the years trying to find a challenge. A challenge he finally found, allowing him to finally let go of the hellish fire burning deep in the dark abyss that is the human mind. Thank you for existing and lighting up the fire that has started to extinguish, he thought in his mind. Now, I will attack with the intent to kill, which is something I have to do considering the circumstances, though you can say that a fight to the death is a selfish wish of mine. So Yasuo didn't pay much attention to what Netero is saying, because while the latter was talking, behind him a golden statue started materializing itself, shining brightly like a glowing beacon in the darkness of the night. What manifested is a multi-armed construct that takes the form of a gigantic statue of Guanyin, the goddess of compassion, mercy, and kindness, a statue built solely for violence, for a human selfishness, going against what it represents. This is Netero's main ability, 100 type Guanyin Bodhisattva, in which he summons a multi-armed Nen construct behind himself which takes the form of a gigantic statue of Guanyin. To execute an attack, Netero clasps his hands together in a fluid motion, as if in prayer, after which one of the arms on the statue strikes down upon his target in conjunction with Netero's hand motion. The procedure is repeated before every attack, and one could easily imagine how far he pushed the ability with his attacking speed. Yasuo observed the manifestation closely, pushing his control domain to its limits, sensing every small change, movement in Netero's Nen. And with that, a change started to be noticed on all the Aranin shapes surrounding Yasuo. They all started fusing together, forming into another shape, from the large thread spears to the arms and even the small threads. All started fusing, creating a shape extremely similar to Netero's Guanyin statue, the difference being is its color. Netero's is completely golden while Yasuo's statue is dark purple and is slightly transparent. Another difference is while Netero's statue is emitted making no contact with him, Yasuo's is connected to his upper back through numerous threads. Cheap imitation. That is all Netero had to say, noticing Yasuo's actions, and as he closed his mouth and narrowed his eyes, a strange phenomenon engulfed the place. The concept of time seemed to slow down, crawling around them as if the fabric of time has no effect on them whatsoever. Netero clasped his hands in a fluid motion, a motion that looks slow in contrast to the reality of what he really did. After he brought his hands together as if in prayer, he performed a chopping motion, and with it, the golden statue did as well, striking towards Yasuo with a chop. To Yasuo, whose senses were heightened to their extreme, that particular action seemed slow, as he can clearly follow it with his domain, noting something about Netero's ability. Netero's Guanyin Buddha attacks take the same amount of time to reach the target as the amount of time Netero takes to perform the motion for the statue to attack. This means his Guanyin statue is moving at a speed much faster than Netero's arm movements, since the Guanyin statue has to cover a much larger distance in the same amount of time. He is right, what I made is just a cheap imitation and it can't perform the same feat he does. I will need to consciously manipulate it and use my control domain to make it usable. Moving my hands is useless since it's an empty nen construct, a construct built with my eranin as a foundation, and this is a benefit for me. It's easy to control and it has the same power property as aerogel but still not as strong as Neteros considering the limitation the latter applied on the ability, and those are just the ones I can see. Aside from the need to perform the prayer before each attack, perhaps not being able to use the 4 golden arms while using this ability is a condition in itself. What Yasuo wants is laying down the limits and rules while shaping the ability to suit his taste. He closed his eyes, focusing completely on the oncoming battle, as started manipulating most of the arms into blocking Netero's attack. The sound of the impact thundered, reverberating through the room, a sound that sounded only after several other attacks were made, signifying just how broken the battle is. A sound that continued for more than a minute, and across it, thousands of attacks were made, with Netero being the only one attacking and Yasuo being on the defensive side with a peaceful look on his face and his eyes still closed. What could be noticed is Yasuo using most of his statue's arms to block a single attack from Netero. But, as the previous minute passed, he started using fewer arms to defend as he perfected his statue more, with the latter changing shape, slowly getting rid of what he deemed useless and what doesn't suit his preference. All the arms fused together, forming 6 large dark purple arms with 3 arms being on each side. Its overall shape also started changing, taking the form of Yasuo's physique, though only from the waist and above it, as the lower part of the statue disappeared, leaving solely the upper part of the body connected to Yasuo through 3 dark threads that formed a triangle on Yasuo's upper back. The dark purple nen construct looks extremely similar to Yasuo from every small detail, from how its abs are shaped to every muscle. The difference being it has an extra 4 arms, though the most noticeable difference is on its face, completely empty, faceless, with no eyes or mouth or anything. The only thing that one can notice on its head is the numerous threads flowing down long enough to touch the ground, acting as its hair. Though it seems to be tied down in a long rope braid hairstyle, with its forefront shaped like a spearhead gently reaching the ground. Yet Yasuo continued to be on the defensive side, trying to perfect the construct more, though what changed is how easily he can defend against the attacks, as only 2 hands became enough to block Netero's strikes. In fact, because of the eranin's weightless property providing minimal resistance to his control. With the combination of his nen manipulation and control domain allowing him to control the construct, easily pushing its arm movement speed even further. This allowed him to block Netero's attacks using only 2 hands, though he had to feed the construct his aura continuously once he noticed the hands starting to crack after blocking a certain number of attacks. Netero's face couldn't help but twitch seeing the scene play in front of him. He really is imitating my ability and shaping it, creating an ability with it as a base. A monster is what he really is. He just created the ability's base, and it's already this strong. I guess I need to up my game. As he thought of this, Netero clasped his hands together and started resting his right ankle on his left calf, joined his thumbs and index fingers together, making a sign with his hands that looks like the number 99. The Bodhisattva then started unleashing a barrage of palm strikes with all its arms, resulting in a massively powerful attack. One where Netero does not need to pray in between blows and instead maintains the pose that started the technique. This is the 99th hand technique. Against this, Yasuo, who is dazed in the middle of shaping the new ability with his eyes still closed, didn't seem to react at all. The nen construct behind him did, though, as it brought all its 6 arms enveloping Yasuo with them, completely not allowing even a speck of light to pass through. Yasuo was engulfed in darkness, not allowing him to see anything even if he opened his eyes. Except he doesn't his eyes to see. He can clearly see every movement in his domain. He can see the 99 hands striking towards him as he prepared himself for the impact. Chapter 67. Yasuo was engulfed in darkness, not allowing him to see anything even if he opened his eyes. Except he doesn't his eyes to see. He can clearly see every movement in his domain. He can see the 99 hands striking towards him as he prepared himself for the impact. Netero manipulated the strikes to come from all directions in order to keep Yasuo in his place and not send him out of his range. The blast of the impacts caused even the building to chill as the air pressure in the room continued to rise with each collision. The arms seemed to hold out for the first 30 strikes until they didn't anymore as cracks started to spread all over them. Noticing that, Netero focused some of the attacks on Yasuo's Nen construct. By the time more than 60 strikes were delivered, the construct shattered like a broken mirror, yet Netero didn't stop his barrage of attacks as he targeted the area where Yasuo was, shattering the metallic ground. Only to notice no resistance at all. He retracted all of the Guanyin hands, noticing no sign of Yasuo at all until his senses picked something up. He hurriedly turned around, noticing Yasuo far away behind him as the latter started forming the same Nen construct again with an interesting change. He formed the same 3 threads connected to his upper back in the shape of a triangle. From the 3 threads, countless small threads started branching out and twisting together, forming the same construct, but with much more density as it looked like muscle tissues coiled together. The Nen construct looked much leaner with 3 long arms on each side. Its hair is also twisted together in a braid style, with its hair's forefront having the same spearhead shape. This is Yasuo's solution to increase the construct's power and defensive ability, eliminating that weakness to a certain extent. Yasuo opened his eyes as a bright light appeared in them, a light signifying his sudden inspiration. Perhaps I can break the rules much sooner than I thought I would. Perhaps if I make a limitation that would be considered insane in some cases, I will even be able to deceive the rules, creating a loophole for me to exploit. But I might need quite a lot of time to visualize such limitation. Netero furrowed his eyebrows, contemplating what has happened. Does he have a teleportation ability or something similar? Just how many abilities did he create? Or could it be that he can mimic abilities just like Jing? If that's really the case, then I'm dealing with an unsurpassable entity, or is it? I guess it's for me to find out. A wide smile surfaced on his face as he looked at the sky behind the mountain in front of him. Netero was about to retract the Guanyin Bodhisattva statue in order to close the distance, since once he summons it, he can't move it from the summoning place unless he unsummoned it. But he noticed Yasuo moving towards him with the massive dark construct following closely behind him. Netero clasped his hands together and waited until Yasuo comes within his range, and once the latter did, he performed a punching motion with the statue doing the same, striking towards Yasuo. Yasuo stopped seeing this even though his construct still had about 2 meters before being able to strike Netero, since the latter's statue has arms that are a little bit longer than Yasuo's, though that didn't seem to faze him as he controlled his construct to block the oncoming punch, managing to do so quite easily. Let's see. I'll call the ability Vision. As he said that, he controlled it, attacking Netero with the latter already being prepared as he moved his hands, locking them together with the Guanyin statue doing the same, locking Netero inside. The 6 arms of the Vision statue, which didn't look long enough to reach Netero, suddenly started extending under Yasuo's manipulation. This is courtesy of the construct being mostly a transmutation construct connected to Yasuo through the 3 threads. This allows him to manipulate the construct however he wants as long as his aura is available, and he can do so to an accurate degree, basically changing the construct's shape to his desires. As he controlled the arms to attack, they started twisting, striking from all sides as if they have no bones. Yasuo controlled them using Nen manipulation and his control domain, allowing their speed to surpass Netero's by far. He used that momentum to increase the power of the attacks. The collision resulted in the entire room shaking as all of the purple arms hit the golden hands, protecting Netero at once. There didn't seem to be any damage on them, but that didn't faze Yasuo as he continued his barrage of attacks, creating air blasts that started to spread across the room. It was only after each purple arm attacked more than 11 times that the sound of the first attack thundered through the room, signifying just how much faster his attacks are than the speed of sound. Yasuo stopped his offensive streak as cracks started appearing on the statue, since his goal of cornering Netero was fulfilled. The Guanyin statue started dispelling itself as an unscathed Netero appeared. Netero let out a sigh, I lost. And I really got rusty, huh? And you're just that weird. He was looking at the two pitch-black daggers that are extremely close to his neck with a vile air surrounding them. They're radiating a smell of death, threatening to send him to the abyss of the dead if he made even the tiniest bit of movement. Hearing that, Yasuo controlled the daggers back into their sheath on his belt, declaring the end of the battle, a battle that took no more than 10 minutes. Your teleportation ability is quite interesting, managing to teleport directly close to my neck, ignoring the golden hands protecting me, huh? Or is it a combination with another ability? Well, it matters not. I thought about using my trump card, but seeing your teleportation ability, it's deemed to be useless considering that such abilities are its weakness. Netero seemed to be deep in thought, as if talking to himself while picturing the previous sequence of events, trying to come up with a way on how to win the fight. Yasuo also dispelled the vision construct and started walking towards Netero. Well, that was interesting, I learned a lot, thank you. That brought Netero out of his contemplating as the energetic and playful tone came back to him. Ho ho. No, thank you. This is one of the most challenging fights I've ever had, so thank you. In fact, even though your offensive abilities aren't the most destructive I've faced, second only to your great-great-grandfather, but, overall you're a much more dangerous opponent. They started going back towards the elevator after Netero picked up his kimono and it's strangely still intact. A gleam of light appeared deep in Yasuo's eyes hearing that, about him. I asked him a few times about his unofficial trip to the Dark Continent, but he never gave me any accurate answer and avoided giving me any direct answer. So since you were with him, you should know what has transpired there, and why does he call himself Maha even though according to what I found, his real name is Zig. Netero narrowed his eyes as a flash of gloominess enveloped his face for a split second before a playful expression surfaced on his face. The procedure for making you a 3-star hunter will take a few days, so we'll have a lot of time to talk about it and possibly have a few more spars from time to time? While saying that, Netero authorized the elevator, then selected the highest floor of the building. Yasuo's face couldn't help but twitch seeing Netero's shamelessness. He just let out a small sigh saying, I was planning on staying here until I finish my ability anyway. And sparring with you from time to time may make the process quicker, so why not? So just tell me about what I want to know now, I am quite curious. A wide smile surfaced on his face. Ha 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 ha, that's what I wanted to hear. I wanted to ask if you want to become the vice chairman, but it's unlikely for you to accept considering where your interest lies. And you're stronger than me, so there is that. Yasuo nodded with an unreadable expression on his face. You're right, I have no interest in such a position. They headed towards the guest room at the highest stage, where Netero ordered through the phone for drinks to be delivered to him. Coffee for Yasuo, and tea for him. They took a seat with Yasuo listening attentively to what Netero has to say. Chapter 68. They headed towards the guest room at the highest stage, where Netero ordered through the phone for drinks to be delivered to him. Coffee for Yasuo, and tea for him. They took a seat with Yasuo listening attentively to what Netero has to say. Netero took a sip of tea as a solemn expression enveloped his face, remembering what they faced in the expedition. He set out looking for a challenge but found none, only survival. It's not that he doesn't want to tell you, he just can't. In fact, even I don't know exactly what happened, but I made a few conclusions from what I remember. The air of seriousness got all of Yasuo's attention as he narrowed his eyes in anticipation, to know if his theory is really correct. Netero continued, there should be some information about the unofficial expedition we went through. Zig told me he wrote about it and left it in the family library, right? Yasuo nodded, yeah, I looked through it, but there isn't anything regarding what I want to know. A gleam of light appeared deep in Netero's eyes as he looked at Yasuo. About what you want to know, huh? So you know? You know that whatever is in Aluka is the result of that expedition? How? Yasuo's expression didn't change at all as he answered without missing a beat, she is my dear sister, so I did my fair share of investigation, but it didn't yield many results, and that in itself is a clue, as it left me with the only possible source of Nanika, that is the Dark Continent. I happened to have read the book years before that, and I remember it clearly. In fact, it interested me quite a lot, so I gathered information about the Dark Continent as soon as I could, and I bought all the available information about it on the Hunter's Traven. Though the most important reason to why I came to this conclusion is on the first page of the book. Isaac Netero, Zig Zoldyck, and Lynn Horstuver are names written on it, so I put things together. Netero nodded in understanding, only to hear the following, bringing an air of gloominess around him. An unofficial expedition in which he participated in, and something happened that made him change his name or forsake his last name. My question, and what makes me puzzled, is how can someone like you allow something potentially dangerous to bare its teeth on humanity, allowing such a variable to exist within humanity? From what I observed, you seem to like challenges a lot, to the point that you made the Hunter exam as deadly as it is now, allowing only the elites to pass, seeds that will grow and could become a challenge. You indulged in your personal interest, but one could argue you were just trying to make humanity stronger. Well, matters not, that's not something I care about. From your past actions and what I observed, I could safely say you won't allow such danger that could potentially exterminate humanity to come in contact with it, even at the cost of your life. Am I right? Netero closed his eyes, letting out a sigh, though Yasuo, seeing through him, didn't faze him one bit. His passion for challenges is something many know, and he never really tried to hide it. You're right. I wouldn't allow such a thing to happen. But I didn't have a choice. None of us had a choice. Once we opened our eyes, we were already back in a populated area northwest of the Republic of Pachydia. Netero opened his eyes, then continued, "Let me give you the full context. What you read in the book is most likely all true. He just left out the things that are important. You are a 2-star hunter and will be a 3-star hunter soon, so if you visit the Hunter's Traven you'll have access to all the information available among other services, so bear with me if you hear any foreign concept." We followed the guide until we reached the coast, and it's important to note that we went to northwest of Lake Mobius, an unexplored territory, so the risks were high as we had no idea what we're going to face. Only we didn't face anything. We moved deep into the northwest area, yet we found no sign of any creature at all for a while, nor was there anything useful. Everything seemed decayed, with the smell of death all around, and the remains what could be presumed to be large creatures and dead trees. It looked cursed. It took us a long time to go beyond the deserted area. And what we found is miraculous. Everything is enormous and dangerous, so dangerous that I found no challenge there. He should have described what we went through after this, so I'll skip it since the incident happened when we went back. We knew that there has to be something in the deserted area, considering no creature coming close to it, so we started exploring it. It took us about 2 months to find something interesting, and we only looked for this long because of Zig's persistence. That's the kind of person he was. Once he started something he won't stop until he finishes it. Signs of an ancient civilization, decayed signs with only a single place completely intact. In fact, it looked spotless, a temple looking like white building. Lynn Horstuver was the scouter in our party, as her abilities suited such a role, and she noticed nothing dangerous once she used her ability to see inside the building, with it being completely empty except a large statue in the middle. Zig was the first to enter once he received the confirmation he needed, and we followed after him. The statue looked quite simple yet weird, 2 bald heads almost completely faceless if not for the mouth engraved on each face. They're looking away from each other, with one's mouth shaped in a smiling shape and the other shaped in a sad expression shape. The statue's arms were spread opposite to each other with a ball resting on both palms. And few cracks could be noticed all over the statue. A dispirited expression surfaced on his face. The air in the room changed once we reached a certain distance from it. I remember chills coming down my spine as I heard the faint cold laughter coming from the statue. Ha 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 ha, something finally came. And the cycle continues. You have the privilege of standing before me. The god of choice Dio epiloges. So as the first to enter my sanctuary, you'll be the one to choose from the 2 available options. If you don't choose before 1 moon time passed, I will do it for you, haha now. It said, and even though the language sounded foreign to me, I still understood what it said clearly. Its tone sounded playfully yet dignified, as if it looked down on us, considering us tools for its own agenda, and we couldn't do anything about it since we couldn't move at all, nor did I have the ability to use Nen in its presence. We were helpless, and it wasn't even a battle for survival. That is the last thing I remember before blacking out, only to open my eyes finding myself back in the human territory as I mentioned before. The gloomy air dissipated with a calm expression returning to Netero's face. From what it last said, I naturally assumed it was talking to Zig, so the first thing I did after opening my eyes is asking him about what happened. All I can say is that I chose the best choice of the 2. Is what he said expressionlessly, his energetic and curious side nowhere to be seen. He changed a lot, and I think that is why he changed his name, or it has a meaning. In the Yarbia continent, it means wild deer. The latter symbolize the powers in nature that are not easily subdued. They are able to adapt very well to many habitats. He is probably referring to the statue or whatever entity it is. This is all the information I know, and as you see, there isn't much to work with. Also, a few years ago, he called me and informed me about Nanika, as you call it, and its powers, and told me to keep a distance from it, so I guess it's the result of what happened. And silence engulfed the place in its embrace as Yasuo's eyes shined in brilliance, thinking of all the possibilities. His mind working to its limits, trying to solve such an interesting mystery, until a small smile surfaced on his face. That's interesting, too interesting. Chapter 69. And silence engulfed the place in its embrace as Yasuo's eyes shined in brilliance, thinking of all the possibilities. His mind working to its limits, trying to solve such an interesting mystery, until a small smile surfaced on his face. That's interesting, too interesting. Netero raised his eyebrows, wondering, you know something I don't? Yasuo nodded, I'm making my own assumptions. Netero looked thoughtful for a while before nodding and saying, there wasn't any major incident in the past years, and she was with you, so I won't pry any further unless necessary. He started stroking his beard with a gleam of interest as he asked, you have the ability to mimic other people's abilities, right? I know someone similar to your situation, and he happened to like exploring the world and doing what he finds interesting. In fact, he asked me about you a few years ago once he knew about your actions in Greed Island. Yasuo asked, Jing Freaks, the game master? Netero nodded, to which Yasuo continued asking, did he ask about my abilities and goals? Yeah, only one of your abilities is known in the Hunter's Traven at a price, of course, and it's not really explained well, and it's the one you used in the Heavens Arena, so he wanted to get more information we don't have. Yasuo nodded, standing up, perhaps I'll meet him later, but for now, I am not that interested. Anyway, I'll stay here for about a month, so how about we spar once a week? A bright light appeared in Netero's eyes before nodding, you know where to find me. I need to find a way to win and a counter against his teleportation ability. I also have to train more, I really got too rusty. He thought, watching Yasuo going out. Yasuo walked through the streets of Swordini City until he found a hotel suiting his taste. He booked a room for a month and prepared a cup of coffee for himself, and took a seat, relaxing while thinking about the endless and fascinating possibilities the new information opened for the future. Suddenly Aluka appeared in the air next to him, hovering under his control. Finally, I'm able to teleport to you. Look at this, she said, showing him a painting she is carrying with her. Her appearing brought him out of his thoughts as he controlled her, bringing her closer with a hint of interest, looking at the painting. A painting of his house back in the Zolik property and the green beautiful hill around it. A smile surfaced on his face as he started patting her. Much better, you worked hard, huh? Remarked Yasuo, noticing her astonishing progression in painting. He noted her talent in this field, giving him an interesting idea. Hearing that brought a smile of pride to Aluka's face, proud of the hard work she put into what she likes. Right? I have gotten a lot better. Also, I want to paint a painting of you, please. You always say to wait until I become much better, so can you do a cool pose for me? Please. Aluka started talking calmly only for her voice to start getting higher, passionately asking him with stars shining in her sky-blue eyes. Yasuo let out a small laugh of amusement, then asked curiously, "What kind of pose?" Hearing that brought a wide smile on her face, since that means he agrees, "Something cool like you." Yasuo thought about what a cool pose would be for someone like him before controlling himself and the chair floating next to the window as the brilliance of the full moon shined through it. He crossed his legs still in his seat and closed his eyes, allowing Aluka to start her work. The latter's eyes shined, noticing his actions as she teleported back, bringing all her tools, then started painting with the air around her changing, signifying her complete focus. Yasuo's mind started racing, thinking back on what Netero said and all the information he knows about this world. He focused on using all he has to deduce all of the possible scenarios and how that may affect the future, especially in his trip to the Dark Continent. The cycle continues. This phrase keeps repeating in my mind, signaling its importance, allowing me to put things together. In each cycle, the entity shapes its personality based on the environment around it, so it's safe to assume it doesn't keep its memory or it's a completely different entity, except they all have the same source, with the latter being the source of their power. I'm inclined to think it's the latter. Now, to a certain extent, I can see where the I come into play, codependence of desire. A gaseous life form, a mysterious being in one of the 5 threats that humanity met in the Dark Continent. Both Nanika and the mysterious statue work in a similar way. They both need other life forms to work. In fact, their existence depends on other life forms and the environment around them. Though I was only found in the south-southwest of Lake Mobius, but that doesn't eliminate the possibility of it existing in other places or being carried by Dark Continent natives or creatures to other places, so that explains how it reached the northwest of Lake Mobius. Though the eye possessing the statue is quite interesting. But what is the relation between eye forms and the entity? Is it possibly desires? If so, then what's its goal? Netero said the area all around it was decayed, as if it's cursed, and according to how long they took to find the temple, the cursed area should be massive. So what caused it? Is it the entity itself? Or perhaps something related to its goal, or it's the consequence of its power being used too much? Also, it called itself the god of choice, Joe epiloges, but from what he said, there were signs of an ancient civilization, and the temple makes me more inclined to believe that it's what the people that built the temple called it. Perhaps they worshipped the god of choice and made the statue, so once the eye possessed it, it took a personality based on its environment. The personality of a god, and that brings me to its power. It's related to choices, where one has to choose from 2 options it provided, and one has only about a month to choose, though there is a possibility that it's limited to the choices it can provide. There is an obvious limit I can see, though. It needs one to enter its sanctuary for its power to work, and it was probably referring to the temple, and it can probably only use it once a month, even if one chose one of the options before a full month passes. This shows the difference between how Nanika works and how the statue works. They were born in different environments and in different hosts, resulting in different desires, which means that whatever entity gave them this power has no control over them, or more like its control is minimum. Even among the civilization of believers, there must be people who would want to make use of the god of choice's power and exploit it, so perhaps they found a method to abuse it, and that could have resulted in some unforeseen consequences. Killua also abused Nanika's power, so perhaps there is a repercussion I don't know about. Something that will only be known later in the story, and something he will have to solve by going to the Dark Continent, and I think Zig plays a role in this. Also, is Satan a similar entity? Considering it exists in the same timeline or cycle as Nanika insinuates, it shouldn't be, since the god of choice specifically said the cycle continues. That could also mean that its cycle ended, indicating that it's probably dead by now. Netero also said he noticed cracks all over the statue, which means its time was ending and it needed to continue the cycle before that. Or does the mysterious entity have a role in this? Perhaps it gives them the need to continue the cycle just like it gave Nanika the need to make requests and grant wishes. Also, the god of choice is actually the one who provides the options, but there should be some limitation on it, else it will just do what it wants. On the other hand, Nanika has no limitations, since I'm sure that as long as the wish is within her capabilities, she will grant it, but that comes at a price. She has no power over what people can wish for. That creates an unknown variable, a variable the source entity can't possibly allow to exist, yet such a variable actually exists. So if my theory is right, then I know a general idea of what the mysterious entity is. Chapter 70. That creates an unknown variable, a variable the source entity can't possibly allow to exist, yet such a variable actually exists. So if my theory is right, then I know a general idea of what the mysterious entity is. Yasuo continued to dive deep in his thought process, coming to a few conclusions and making numerous assumptions while also making adjustments to his plans until he let out a small sigh. This gave me more questions than answers. In the end, Pakinoda is a vital piece if I want to get more information without using Nanika's power, and I definitely won't use it unless necessary, especially after the new information, though what I need is her ability. A smile appeared on his face thinking of this. Well, it's quite fun, solving the mystery. I just need to solve it in a way where I come on top. I want to be the one driving the car with a destination in mind, not sit in the backseat with the driver taking me into the unknown. Or better, I want to be the one who created the threads that control the driver without the latter knowing so. The one that controls everything behind the scenes. Yasuo opened his eyes with a mysterious smirk on his face. Things will be much easier once I finish my new ability. Hopefully, it works how I want it to. Envision is really a good name for it. I should also visit Morena from time to time. I looked forward to what kind of ability she will make with her personality and talent, and well, my expectations were exceeded. Her ability will be quite useful when the succession contest begins. Yasuo stood up, noticing that Aluka finished her painting and is just looking at it. He controlled her to flew into his arms, startling her for a second, then he looked at the painting hovering in front of him. Well, it's quite good. Aluka started shaking her head, saying with a hint of annoyance, "No. It's not good enough, you looked so much cooler." Suddenly annoyance turned into sparkling eyes as she used her cutest face while looking at him. "Oni-chan, can you do the same pose again, please?" There didn't seem to be any change in Yasuo's expression as he brought his left hand, hiding his face while also holding his laugh back. Well, he failed as he let it out. "Ha ha 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 ha, sorry I couldn't hold it, ha ha ha, that's new, where did you learn that?" Aluka let out a pout, saying, "At least pretend it worked, meanie." Yasuo let out a small laugh as he pinched her cheek, remarking, "Cute. How about something better? I'll take you to a place where you can progress your hobby until you think you're good enough, then I'll do as you said. So what do you think?" Aluka let out a big smile, then she kissed his cheek, saying, "Love you so much." Yasuo then closed his eyes as he lifted his left hand while allocating aura on it. A small arrow-eye thread appeared and continued extending until it went out of the window and flew away at a swift speed under Yasuo's manipulation. He continued on manipulating it until the forefront of the thread left some distance from the city, then started concentrating a substantial amount of aura in front of him. A portal started opening up and enlarging as he fed more of his aura into it until it got large enough for him to go through, and he did just that after putting everything he needs in his backpack and bringing Aluka's painting tools. He appeared from the source portal floating high in the sky with Aluka in his arms. As the portal closed behind him, he created 3 purple threads that formed a triangle from his upper back. Numerous threads started branching out from those 3 as they started moving beneath him while twisting together until they formed a large bird. He sat down on it as he started manipulating it to fly while also controlling it using his domain, making it faster. As I thought, the consumption is quite small if I fly like this instead of using solely my control domain. This will allow my flying speed to be much faster. Wow. It's so cool. Aluka seemed surprised as she started touching the purple bird with fascination in her eyes. Oni-chan, do you think I can do things such as these too? Yasuo just smiled as he started caressing her hair. Sure you can, in fact by the end of the month, you should be able to, so just get better at painting and you'll be able to do things like these. Happiness appeared on her face as stars started circling her head, signifying her joy and satisfaction. Really? Yasuo nodded as he started patting her while increasing the bird's flying speed, yet the wind has no effect on them due to his control domain. The flight continued for a while until a massive silhouette appeared in the distance far away. As they closed the distance, it became apparent what the silhouette is: an extremely large tree, so large that it surpassed the clouds as it looked down on everything beneath it. This is the world trees, the tallest type of tree that put their roots on a mountain range, intake magma, surpass the atmosphere, and become even bigger. They grow mostly in the outside world, but at least one of them is in the known world. The world tree in the known world is only a sapling that has only enough nutrients to grow to about 1 me. Yasuo manipulated the bird to fly directly to the top of the tree, bypassing the usual procedures of paying a fee and signing a written agreement. The purple bird landed on a large branch, though it's only part of numerous branches forming a massive nest. A nest in which a few large round chicks with varying colors inhabit. The chirping sounds could clearly be heard from them as they noticed the uninvited visitor, though they seem harmless. These are the world tree birds, a species of bird that nests and inhabits at the top of the world tree, with an adult world tree bird having cat-like ears and a long beak for carrying food. The purple bird dissolved as Aluka looked at the colored chicks and everything around her. The beautiful view with everything looking extremely small from the top made her eyes shine. You can play around and paint whatever you like. Also, if you need anything, just teleport back home and bring it, said Yasuo softly while opening his backpack, then bringing out his laptop and a card swiper. Aluka started running around enjoying herself while Yasuo swiped his 2-star hunter license, granting him access to the hunter's Traven. He noticed a few new options which opened up for him after becoming a 2-star hunter. Only 2 of the newly available options interest him, the most important one being the option to buy Journey to the New World, the East Edition. Over 300 years ago, Don Freaks traveled to the Dark Continent and recorded his travels into 2 editions, an East Edition and a West Edition. However, only the East Edition is still extant and is the one available for purchase for 2-star hunters. Once he tried to buy it at an astonishing price of 250 million jenny, he received a warning stating the following: the book is for private use only, else your hunter license will be revoked and will be hunted down. He ignored the warning, completing the payment and getting a digital copy of the book, but he didn't look through it just yet. Instead, he clicked on the other option that interests him and the reason why he wanted to become a 2-star hunter, though becoming a 3-star hunter was a benefit he couldn't say no to. It's the option to request a tour in the International Permit Agency's basement, where a few things exist, things he really wants to take a close look into. The agency is an organization formed with the cooperation of a group of different organizations that regulates travel to the Dark Continent, and are operating directly under the V5, so there are bound to be some interesting finds. He started reading the book after filing the request, which will take at least a month to get approved, and while the request getting denied is an option, the chance for that to actually happen to someone like him is small, especially considering he will become a 3-star hunter in a few days. The Dark Continent, the place that stretches beyond the known world, which is nested inside the gigantic Lake Mobius. A lake located at the center of the Dark Continent. In fact, relative to the size of the Dark Continent, the lake is but a mere pond, and we live in that small pond. Chapter 71. The Dark Continent, the place that stretches beyond the known world, which is nested inside the gigantic Lake Mobius. A lake located at the center of the Dark Continent. In fact, relative to the size of the Dark Continent, the lake is but a mere pond, and we live in that small pond. The ancestors of the human race apparently migrated from there to the known world, as the deciphering of myths and the study of ancient ruins seem to testify. It is speculated that magical beasts similarly originated from the Dark Continent. And a magical place is what the Dark Continent is. Human children are born scientists, endlessly curious about their world. Humans are all curious creatures, though the nature of our curiosity can change over time. Humans are innately curious creatures. So it's only natural for humanity to have explored such a magical place, and we did so several times. But while the place is magical and fascinating, it's also a magically dangerous place. And the things stored in the International Permit Agency's basement are a testification to its danger. The 5 great calamities, something humanity's curiosity brought back from the Dark Continent. And like that, a month passed with Yasuo just relaxing and taking Aluka to the World Tree sometimes, reading The Journey to the New World, having a spar with Netero from time to time, and visiting Morena regularly. Most importantly, he finished creating his new ability, painting a small happy smile on his face as he sat elegantly posing for Aluka, with the latter focusing completely on painting a perfect painting of him. Yasuo waited patiently, allowing Aluka to take her time until she finished the painting as she nodded with satisfaction enveloping her face. "It's perfect." Yasuo stood up and walked towards the painting, then stood next to Aluka while looking at the painting closely as a smile formed on his face. "Perfect, right?" she asked with expectations in her eyes. Yasuo nodded. "It is. When you teleport back home, take it with you and place it in anywhere you think it fits in the house." While saying that, he picked her up as he sat down on the couch, placed her on his lap, and started patting her. "Let's wait for a while. Someone is coming right now, then I'll give you your gift." To which Aluka nodded while resting her head on his chest. They waited until the door to the hotel room suddenly opened by itself with a middle-aged man walking in, though something peculiar that could be noticed is the expression on his face, an expression of pure horror while trying to move his mouth to no avail. The person walked until he stood in front of Yasuo and Aluka, and what no one can see is the countless threads all over him manipulating his movement under Yasuo's control. "Aluka, you can make requests." That is what Yasuo said. After he made the wish for the one-time teleportation, he asked her to not make any requests. He knows Aluka didn't make any requests for at least 6 years in the story, so he knew it's safe for some time and possibly there are no repercussions for not making requests and granting wishes. He also doesn't want to make an order to make her grant him a wish, since that basically bypassing the rules of requests for a wish, so the likeliness of a repercussion is quite high. He knows he can make orders like Killua did in the story, but he prefers not to do so, and he knows Killua didn't make any order to her as of yet, so he doesn't know if the latter can do so. After all, he changed quite a lot, and Aluka spends most of her time with him, so he knows her feelings for Killua aren't as deep, but there are still many uncertainties. Hearing Yasuo says that seems to trigger something in Aluka, as her face blanked for a moment before turning to the man, but she just looked at him, waiting with no further actions. From the middle-aged man's back pocket, a black wallet flew out, then flew to Yasuo's hand. He looked at the man's ID, then said, "His name is Akak." As soon as Yasuo said that, Aluka asked with an innocent expression on her face, "Akak, can you give me your eyes?" The man seemed terrified as his hands moved against his wool until they forcefully plucked his eyes out, yet he couldn't even scream due to the countless small threads keeping his vocal folds from producing any sound. Yasuo used his control domain to stop the bleeding as the man handed her the eyes, only for her to ask the following, "Akak, can you give me your tongue?" A sharp kitchen knife flew from the kitchen to the man's hand, then he started cutting his tongue as parts of his face started twitching slightly. "Akak, can you give me your ears?" is the next and last request she made after the man handed her his tongue, and he did as told, starting by cutting his right ear then his left one and handing them to her. The instant he did so is the instant the air in the room changed, as a strange air enveloped the room, and with that, Aluka's face changed instantly as Nanaka manifested itself. As that happened, another strange event took place. Purple lines started appearing all over the middle-aged man before he vanished. This is the result of Yasuo's ability Violet Rose, though the strange thing is the latter not moving from his place at all, nor did any purple lines appear on his arms, yet he still activated the ability and dealt damage to the man, erasing him from existence. But if time were to slow down considerably, one could notice a purple hand with black lines all over it coming out of his upper back and attacking the man before instantly disappearing. The same thing that happens when he uses violet rose happened. The purple hand went through the man leaving a purple mark on the attacked area, and purple lines spread all over him once the timer he set ended. This is the effect of Yasuo's new ability Vision, an ability that broke the rules of his enhancement ability Violet Rose, which is strange considering just how simple the ability actually is. A piece of paper flew out of his backpack to his hand, then he said, "I want Aluka to have the ability I've written on this paper, with the fuel to power this ability being the same as the one that powers yours, and she will naturally know how to use it." Nanako looked blank for a few seconds before saying, "K." That brought a smile to his face as he started patting her. "Good girl." "Wah." She let out a small whine of happiness as she hugged him tightly, then asked with anticipation in her tone, "Yasuo, I did well? Want me to do well again?" Yasuo let out a small laugh of amusement. "You are, and you'll always be a good girl, so you don't have to do well. In fact, you don't have to make any requests anymore, okay? If you want anything then just ask. I'll pat you whenever you want." Nanako's face seemed blank for a second as she tried comprehending what he said, only for her to nod, then hug him even tighter while saying faintly as if whispering, "Yasuo. Love you." Then instantly the usual Nanaka face vanished, with Aluka returning, with the latter opening her sky blue eyes as a bright smile surfaced on her face. Hee, Nanaka is very embarrassed. Oni-chan is too nice. Thank you. 7. Amusement became apparent on his face seeing the previous scene. Flustered, huh? Well, how about trying your new ability? He indicated to her painting tools after he said that. Instantly happiness started overflowing from her, coloring the whole place, dyeing it in her color signifying her cheerfulness as she ran to her painting tools and started painting something, though she finished quite quickly since she just painted a small bluebird. Suddenly the whole painting canvas started dissolving, leaving only a sky blue energy, an energy that started forming into the same exact bluebird Aluka painted as the latter closed her eyes. The bluebird started flying around while actually producing chirping noises no different from a real bird. The bird flew to Yasuo's hands, with the latter caressing it while noting something soft, and the feathers feel extremely real, though only its exterior feel real. From what I can sense with my control domain, its interior is filled with the blue energy, with no blood, no organs and no muscles, yet the bird can fly and can make sounds. I guess the ability is limited by her perception of things around, and her imagination. If she knows how the bird's body works exactly, the bird will be even more real, and perhaps she can push the ability much further. Chapter 72. If she knows how the bird's body works exactly, the bird will be even more real, and perhaps she can push the ability much further. Aluka suddenly opened her eyes, saying, "Fly around the room." And the bird did just that. It started flying around the room by itself, though its movement seemed kind of stiff. This is the result of the ability Yasuo wrote on the paper, and it's quite a simple one, yet it's broken to a certain extent. Anything Aluka paint can turn into reality as long as she wills it. How real it depends on her visualization and imagination during the painting process. She pictured a bird that can fly and can chirp, so that is what she got, and the bird's interior is filled with the blue energy because she didn't picture it. She can control whatever she painted manually by closing her eyes, in which case she will know how to naturally make it move or how it functions. Though what the construct can do is limited by how she visualized it during the painting process, and she can see through the construct if the latter has eyes. How many constructs she controls at the same time and the accuracy of the control depends on her abilities. The bird can fly but can't breathe fire. Since she didn't picture it doing so, and well, she will need a lot of training to actually picture a bird that can breathe fire. But if she observed a dragon breathing fire, then it will be much easier to paint it with the construct having the same ability than painting a bird with a fire-breathing ability, unless there is such a bird and she observes it, in which case it will be easier. There is another limitation. The resulting construct will be as big as it was painted, so she might need to paint on extremely large paper if she wants to paint something with the result being larger. She can also give commands to the resulting constructs and they'll perform the command if their ability allows them to do so. If she created a cat without the ability to fly and ordered it to fly, then it won't respond. Their performance in doing the commands will depend on how Aluka visualizes the construct doing the command and how she perceives what the command means. Also, the resulting constructs don't have a life of their own and they can't act independently unless they receive the command, in which case, they will stop moving once they performed the command unless it's an indefinite command just like the one Aluka just made fly around the room. Aluka can also dissolve the constructs whenever she wants. The previous limitation is Yasuo being cautious of the constructs ever going out of control, among other important limitations he added. Aluka can never make a construct of Yasuo, herself, Nanika, and she can't make any construct have their power or memories, especially Yasuo's. He placed this limitation just in case because he doesn't know if she will be able to make the constructs have memories of other things in the future, though it's unlikely. Aluka played around with the bird for a while before running towards Yasuo and kissed his cheek. "I love you so much, I'll definitely use it well." Yasuo just smiled then said, "I'll be away for a while, so take this time to train your proficiency in the ability. Stay back home until you feel like you can teleport to me again, or if you need anything then just contact me, okay?" He stood up after saying that as Aluka nodded and asked, "Can we make video calls if you take too long?" Yasuo nodded, "It shouldn't take too long, but okay." Then she disappeared, taking all her stuff with her in anticipation of playing around with her new ability, while Yasuo put his backpack on then left the hotel. Yasuo flew to the sky using his control domain, then closed his eyes while concentrating his aura on his upper back. He created the usual triangle threads from his upper back with countless threads branching out from them until they formed the six-armed construct with the long hair, but this construct's size is only a little bit bigger than his size in contrast to the one he made against Netero that rivaled the latter's Guanyin statue. There is another difference: two extremely large wings spurted from the construct's back. The biggest difference though is on its face, a large vertical eye, and the only thing on its face, the eye looked completely black with darkness completely engulfing it. It looked like it can absorb anyone looking at it into the dark abyss within. Yasuo started manipulating the wing to fly with the coast of the Enrica continent as his destination. He used his control domain as support, making him fly faster with the vision construct, using one of the 6 hands as a platform for him to stand on. As the construct flew high in the sky, a few irregularities started appearing on some of its arms, black lines spreading all over them for about a second then disappearing, though the lines never appear on the hand Yasuo is standing on. This is Yasuo using his ability Violet Rose, though strangely the lines don't appear on his arms. Instead, they appear on the Vision 6-armed construct's arms and only on some of them, and the lines become black if applied on the Vision arms. Yasuo is training his ability to consciously choose which of the arms the lines will appear on when he activates the ability, because the arms become intangible when that happens, and if all the 6 arms become intangible then that'll basically leave him defenseless, especially with the limitation he put on the Vision ability. This way, he can attack with the arms the ability is applied on and defended with the remaining tangible arms. The ability is really quite broken. Well, I'm proud of myself. This is due to my vision after all. Noted Yasuo, feeling the power in the vision construct and how high the damage it deals on the target he set, with the latter being the air. The damage is not significant relative to how massive of a target air is, but it's many times higher than using his real arms, and if we consider that there are 6 of such arms and that their speed is much faster than his real arm speed, then there is no comparison. Yasuo's face looks expressionless with no movement whatsoever as he continued his training, and his eyes look completely wide as if blind. He looks blank as if he has no control of his body at all. This is another limitation on the ability and the main reason why the 6-armed vision construct can use the ability Violet Rose on its arms. Hatsu Vision, Specialty Enhancement Transmutation Manipulation. Yasuo transmutes his aura into Aranin threads that twist together into a vision construct with a pitch-black vertical eye appearing on it. Yasuo has to create 3 threads from his upper back, and the 3 threads have to form a triangle, and he can branch more threads from the 3 threads, only then can he activate the ability. Yasuo can form the construct into anything and can make it as big as he wants with his aura pool as a limitation, but that comes at a cost, because the power spread equally all over the construct. Making it bigger will lower its defensive and offensive abilities while also lowering its speed, but that lowers only the added power from the ability while leaving the basic Aranin endurance without any effect on the latter's properties. The invisibility property won't be usable on any of the vision forms, but Yasuo can use it if he uses only pure Nen threads. When Yasuo uses vision, he will lose control over his body and his heart will stop functioning, though he will only lose his normal control over his body except his brain, soul, and Nen or any other energy within his control, and the vision construct will be considered his real body. Because of the risk above, and since the construct is considered his real body, then the latter's overall strength will be added to the construct and be spread equally all over it. This is the added power mentioned above. And Yasuo will be able to output his aura through the construct. Yasuo can choose one construct form which will be called Zero Vision. That particular form will ignore the limitation: the bigger the construct, the lower the added power will be, but the small the overall size of Zero Vision relative to Yasuo's overall size, the more powerful the Vision Eye will be. The increase in Vision Eye's power isn't infinite, as the increase in power will stop when the form is 10 times smaller than Yasuo's size. Yasuo can change Zero Vision's form only once a month. Vision Eye, the ability to see the future that will happen depending on Yasuo's intention at that moment, with the ability to see the future or the past of other things other than himself. The thing that plays the most important role in how far he can see is Yasuo's overall power and the latter's Nen pool. If he wishes to select anything other than himself, that thing needs to be within Zero Form's vision or close to the form. Chapter 73. While Yasuo expected the ability to be quite broken and had high expectations, it still surpassed them by far, as this ability basically eliminated one of Violet Rose's weaknesses, and that its limited range. Since it could only be used on his arms, which will make fights against some opponents harder than it should, especially massive creatures, the kind he will face in the Dark Continent. With the size of such creatures, targeting their vitals will be quite hard, and even if he used his portal's ability to do so, his arm size is just too small to deal any significant damage. And the consumption for continuously using something similar to Yuvagin's ability Big Bang Impact is too high, especially considering how dangerous the Dark Continent is. He also found that the bigger the construct he wants to form is, the more time he needs to fully form it. With something as large as Netero's Guanyin statue, he found it will take him about 9 seconds to form it, but he knows it just a matter of proficiency, and the more he trained in forming constructs, the easier it will be. The most important reason why he was able to create such an ability is the limitation he placed on it. Specifically, the one that makes him lose control over his body, and his heart stops functioning, leaving only his brain and his control over aura and any other energy. He included the latter just in case he gained control over other energies, and as for the soul, well, losing control over it would be stupid, wouldn't it? This particular limitation is so dangerous that anyone else using will just die. If one's heart stops functioning and they lose their ability to control their body, then that means blood will stop flowing in the body. If one can't breathe, then the brain and all of the body's organs will stop working, meaning death. And while people can breathe when sleeping, this limitation stops even passive breathing, which means no oxygen in the blood, let alone that even the heart stops beating. So the blood will stop flowing and the limitation won't allow the heart to beat at all, and Yasuo will have to face the possible backlash if he tried to make his heart start beating while using the ability. Yet Yasuo is still standing on the purple hand, and while his face looks blank, there is still a small movement on his face. A movement of him breathing, and while his heart is not beating at all, Blood still flows through his body, delivering oxygen especially to his brain, since the latter is mostly responsible for this anomaly. The only reason Yasuo made such a limitation is because of his control domain, which allows him to control his blood flow and his body accurately, allowing himself to breathe. Though the most important part of the limitation is the vision construct could be considered his real body, which makes use of a loophole in Violet Rose, allowing him to use it on the construct's arms. Yasuo continued his training until he reached the coast, as he can see everything around him clearly due to the arrow-eye threads all over the six-armed construct. This is another loophole he made use of. Since he can't see, in fact, he can't use any of his senses while using vision. Also, when using arrow-eye, he loses the ability to see with his eyes, so he made use of the arrow-eye ability to bypass the limitation. He retracted the vision form as he got control over his body. He then used his control domain to get the arrow-eye thread he left underwater beneath him and used it to look through the other side of the thread while concentrating his inframe of him, starting to form a portal until he suddenly sensed something. Yasuo narrowed his eyes as he started focusing his senses on their pinnacle, trying to detect what he sensed, to no avail. Again, the feeling of someone watching me, but it feels different and distant, like they're not looking at the current me. Just as I thought, someone is looking at a video of me with some specific intention that triggered my senses. This started only about 2 weeks ago, so the video should be from the Hunter Association's surveillance cameras. But is this how strong my senses got? Being able to feel someone's gaze even when that person is watching an old video of me. That thought brought a smile to him as he again attached the thread underwater, then went through the portal only to appear underwater near the coast of the Asia continent. Water seems to avoid him as if a barrier is surrounding him, keeping him completely clean. He flew out of the water then towards the Kakin Empire's capital. At the same time, somewhere in the known world, in a dark large room, a middle-aged man could be seen sitting on a couch while watching a few videos on the large screen in front of him with interest apparent in his eyes. All the videos have is a scene of Yasuo walking by, from videos taken by surveillance cameras of the shops he passed by, videos of surveillance cameras outside people's homes and outside hotels. The person watching the videos has black hair enclosed by a band and a long black beard. His most distinctive feature is his scar, which is shaped like an X, located in his face. His clothing resembles that of an ancient Chinese commander, with long robes that reach down to his arms. This is Beyond Netero, the son of Isaac Netero. Beyond started stroking his long black beard while saying, "My intuition tells me he is quite strong, but I'm not really sure." Someone who became a 2-star hunter then became a 3-star hunter only a few days later. Just what did he do for my father to make such an exception? A gleam of light appeared in his eyes. Whatever it is, he must be quite strong and useful, and things will be easier if he wants to go to the Dark Continent. I just need to get more information about his abilities, and his name already gave me quite a bit of information about him. Yasuo Zoldika, what do you think? Well, he seems like an interesting toy I can play with. Perhaps he can offer a challenge. I'm really looking forward to playing with him. The sound came from someone standing at the side of the room. The person seems to be talking to himself more than answering the question in a cheerful tone. In a large basement beneath the Heil Lee family's headquarters, a beautiful sound could be heard, the sound of Morena signing with her finger touching the dead body in front of her. Just one of the human and animal bodies in the basement, though only that human is dead while the others seem to be floating, each in a large glass case with a few tubes connected to it. One of the tubes is responsible for delivering oxygen to their body, since the glass cases are completely filled with some kind of fluid. The rest of the tubes are connected to their arms and are responsible for injecting the drugs needed to put them in a coma. She seems to be touching the body in a place where it's bleeding slightly, only for blood to continuously flow into her finger, disappearing further. She was signing elegantly with her eyes closed comfortably even in such an environment. In fact, she finds herself more comfortable in such environments, a chaotic yet peaceful one. I never bother to find one, but I guess I should find a hobby. Yasuo's passion is researching things, and he will probably spend long amounts of time delving into his passion, so finding something for me is necessary. What is it that I like? What is it that interests me? After humming for a while, Morena started talking to herself with a thoughtful look on her face. It could be noticed that her aura pool is increasing continuously while absorbing the bodies until the latter completely dried up. It's too little, but it's really hard to find people talented. And then she noted how small the increase in her aura is relative to the increase when she absorbed the former vice boss's blood. The reason for the difference is the target's talent, as she found it incredibly hard to find people as talented as the former boss and vice boss, which lead to their aura pool increasing massively, and in return, she got higher returns when she absorbed them. And she can only absorb a maximum of 50% of the target's aura. She also found out that it's much harder to get an ability, as most of the time, only her aura pool increase. Morena then headed to the section where creatures other than humans are placed, though only 2 creatures could be seen. A large, bipedal creature covered in light brown fur. The creature has both anthropomorphic and fox-like traits, and have 3 fingers per hand and 3 toes per foot, all considerably long and ending in sharp claws. The creature seems to mostly stay in that form, though it changes regularly to random colors and a more humanoid look even though it's unconscious. This is Kiriko, one of the magical beasts that can change their own physical appearance. Chapter 74. The creature seems to mostly stay in that form, though it changes regularly to random colors and a more humanoid look even though it's unconscious. This is Kiriko, one of the magical beasts that can change their own physical appearance. The other creature is just a small yellow bird with no interesting thing about it that can be noticed, and in fact, it's just a simple normal bird in contrast to the magical beast next to it. Something that only Nen users can notice about the 2 creatures is the aura flowing out, with their aura pool enlarging, though barely. This is the result of Morena using her ability on them as per Yasuo's instructions. Once she observed them for a while, she left the room and sent a message to 3 people on her phone, then headed to her office where she took a seat and crossed her legs, then waited for a while with her eyes closed, until the door opened with 3 people entering, then closing the door behind them, and said at the same time, "Boss." A man of slim build in his 20s, between 185 and 190 centimeters tall, and with a large crescent-shaped scar on his left cheek. He has prominent teeth, a high brow, and fair, combed-back hair. This is Luini, a high-ranking member of the Heil Lee family. A young woman with fair hair on top, but dark on the sides and back. She has a long fringe that falls on the left side of her face. She has droopy eyes, thick lips, and prominent lower lashes. This is Cashew, is the new vice boss of the Heil Lee family. A tall middle-aged man. He has long orange wavy hair, protruding chin, black eyes color. This is Aurelin, a high-ranking member of the Heil Lee family. Morena opened her eyes, then asked, "Cashew, how was the recruitment process?" "The requirements you set to join the family are too high, so we were only able to recruit 32 people so far. Mass recruitment like this is quite rare in the underworld, so people would usually take such an opportunity, but most of them are still hesitating because of what happened when you took over," answered Cashew directly, as if she rehearsed that. Morena seemed thoughtful. "Because of the disappearance of the former boss and the other members, well, it doesn't matter much for now." "Luini, Aurelin, how is the contact with the spies we sent to the other families?" "We have only 1 spy in the Char family who is available for contact, the rest failed to join. 4 members were able to successfully join the Shiyu family, but they have no useful information since they're still at the bottom of the barrel," both Luini and Aurelin answered respectively. Morena nodded. "It doesn't matter, I just want to know the overall movement of the families, and that's something they should know." She observed them while saying so. "How is your progress in Nen? And how is the progress of the other members?" The one to answer the question is Cashew, saying, "Everyone is still learning the basics and no one was able to create any ability as of yet." They continued the discussion for a while, mostly about the family business and the plans to expand it. "Well, I'm having fun with this. Having power over people and manipulating them for my wishes is kind of enjoyable. I'll start from here and see if it can be my hobby. Though Morena bringing a small smile to her face. Her eyes seemed to shine for a split second. Taking over the whole underworld of the Kakan Empire sounds interesting. Then we can do whatever we want and perhaps we can take over the world. We just need the power to do so. Train more, and don't disappoint me. Hearing that brought different reactions from the three. Cashew's eyes brightened, a weird expression surfaced on Luini, but expectations could be seen in his eyes, while Aurillon just nodded. Morena looked thoughtful until she noticed a portal appearing in the room and then disappearing only after Yasuo came out of it. She stood up and threw her arms around his neck as they sealed each other's mouth into a long kiss. Yasuo suddenly picked her up and walked towards the couch, then sat down and placed her on his lap. Morena just rested her head on his chest while asking, "How long?" To which he said, "Long enough." "So what do you think about them? Are they loyal and suitable for the positions I appointed them in?" she asked, wondering. Yasuo closed his eyes, just relaxing. "You're the boss, you tell me what you think." Morena seemed thoughtful for a while before saying, "From I saw, Looney just like chaos and well, killing. If my goals can grant him that, then he will follow me. He is the one I'm not sure about the most. Cashew is quite deceptive and strategic. That's why I gave her the vice boss position, but I could see she doesn't have much motivation, so I gave her a goal to work for, taking over the world. Aurillon is the easiest case. He was a government official, a talented one, but he quit a while ago due to his wife and daughter getting killed. I saw his talent, so I brought him in and helped him get his revenge back, so yeah, I think he is quite loyal." Yasuo let out a small laugh. "You're doing well on your own, so you really don't need much advice, but I'll say it anyway. The chaotic vibe surrounding you draws people to follow you more than you think, so aside from your direct manipulation, this also plays a role, especially for people like Luini, so yeah, I think he is quite loyal. And the vibe didn't disappear after meeting me. In fact, it became much more beautiful, so you don't have to worry much about him, and the same for the other two, especially Aurillon. He seems quite talented. All the three are rare finds, so even if they make good abilities, it's better not to use your ability on them. You should also consider making Aurillon the underboss. Also, how long did you use your ability on them?" Yasuo continued to ask. "All of them awaken Nen in about 12 to 24 hours from me using my ability on them with no apparent complication. 7 days for Linny with his aura pool enlarging significantly and he is an emitter. 6 days for Cashew since she is a little bit more talented than Linny, she is a transmuter. Aurillon seems special with taking only 4 days to reach the same aura pool as Linny and Cashew even with his age, and he is a specialist. I only used my ability on another 6 members I think are loyal, but they're not that talented." Yasuo nodded, then asked, "What you said about taking over the world, did you mean it?" A bright light appeared deep within Morena's eyes as she answered truthfully, "I enjoy having this kind of power and I'm good at it, so I want to mess around a little bit and see if I like it and can take it as a hobby of mine. You have your passion and I want to find mine." Yasuo started caressing her silky blonde hair with a smile on his face. "You're good at it, alright, so have your fun and do whatever you want. For now, let's go on a date." That brought a bright smile to her face, but she asked, "You're not gonna check on the creatures in the basement?" "Already did, there are still about 15 days, so leave them until we go back." After hearing that, she contacted Cashew to take over while she is away, then they went through a portal only to appear somewhere at the coast of the Azia continent, floating in the air with Yasuo holding Morena's waist. He used the same arrow eye thread he left to create a portal leading them to the coast of the Enrica continent. From Yasuo's upper back, he created 3 purple threads from which numerous more threads started branching out and twisting together, forming a large bird on which he sat on, with Morena doing the same and resting her head on his shoulder, though he didn't activate vision ability, keeping his eye vision intact. After which he manipulated the bird to fly in a direction that leads to the Mimbo Republic, one of the V5, the main leaders of the known world, with the group being composed of 2 female and 4 male leaders from different countries: United States of Suherda, Federation of Ochima, Mimbo Republic, Kukanyu Kingdom, Bigarasi Union. A long time ago, the V5 decided on which place they're going to build the International Permit Agency's headquarters, and they came to the conclusion it should be built in the Mimbo Republic due to the Hunter Association's HU also being there, which can provide necessary backup if need. Chapter 75. A long time ago, the V5 decided on which place they're going to build the International Permit Agency's headquarters, and they came to the conclusion it should be built in the Mimbo Republic due to the Hunter Association's HU also being there, which can provide necessary backup if need. Such a place will need maximum possible protection because of what is in its basement, some things that can exterminate humanity if unleashed. So while the V5 has NEN users of their own, they still needed a backup plan in case that's not enough, and if even the backup plan failed, then they'll have to use much more destructive means. So while the Mimbo Republic certainly benefits from the agency's headquarters being built in their territory, they also have to live with the risk that if the threats within the basement ever got unleashed, the rest of the V5 will have to use nuclear weapons to exterminate them. So the Mimbo Republic decided to take the safe route and build the headquarters within a safe distance from the capital and Swardani city, in a small city, the same one Yasuo just landed on, and walked with Morena towards the biggest building in the city, the agency's headquarters. Yasuo handed his 3-star hunter license to the front desk receptionist while saying, "I have an appointment, please let the agency director know." The receptionist didn't look surprised as if expecting him. Once she verified his hunter license, she said, "Please wait for a moment, the director will be with you in a minute." After saying that, she made a call only saying the guest is here. Yasuo sat down on one of the waiting chairs with Morena sitting next to him and asking playfully, "I don't know much about dates, but this is certainly a weird place for a date, don't you think?" Yasuo just smiled, saying, "What did you expect? Of course it's gonna be an unusual date, but it will certainly be an interesting one." Morena looked around wondering, is there more than what meets the eye to this place? You'll see. They only had to wait for about 2 minutes before the agency's director appeared within their vision. He walked towards them and said, "Welcome to the IPA, Mr. Yasuo and Miss Morena. I'm the director of the agency, Mirik. You can choose for me to be the tour guide and I'll explain everything as we tour. If you don't, just know that I'll have to follow you through the tour to make sure everything is going well." Mirik is a short old man. His hair is almost completely white, signifying his age, with a few wrinkles on his face. He was wearing a brown suit with a perfect posture in contrast to his age, and this is due to something Yasuo noticed. Mirik is a NEN user, and a strong one at that. Yasuo said with a smile, "No need, I read the book, I just need to see them with my eyes, though I might ask you a few questions if needed." Mirik's expression doesn't seem to change at all since the start of the interaction, as he just nodded, "Please follow me." They started walking with Morena asking Yasuo, "Care to explain?" If someone becomes a 2-star hunter, the option to request a tour in this place becomes available. And since I became a 3-star hunter, I can request to take another person to the tour even if the latter isn't a 2-star hunter. So I requested to add you as an extra and they approved. As for what's in here, well, it's better to see it yourself. Morena nodded only to ask another question, "And the director is acting as the guide?" The one to answer the question ended up being Mirik. Rarely does anyone request for the tour, especially considering the price for it is 3 billion jenny, so I don't mind taking some time of the day to act as the guide, and this is my responsibility. Yasuo raised his eyebrows wondering, "Really, is it just that? I thought it's because your ability is suitable for such a role in case something happened." Yet Mirik's expression didn't change as he simply said, "Who knows?" Then they stayed silent as the elevator started going down until Morena remembered something. "What book were you talking about earlier?" "Journey to the New World, a book about the Dark Continent. I will send you a digital form once we finish the tour," explained Yasuo. Hearing that actually caused a change in Mirik's expression, with his face twitching slightly. you know you'll be hunted for that, right? Will I? Mirek didn't talk any further as he leads them through a certain hallway after exiting the elevator, only to lead them to another elevator, though he had to enter a code and swipe a red card he had on him for the elevator to start going down, and it took quite some time before it stopped. They walked through another hallway, though this one is quite long, with tens of armed soldiers and several security measures, only to take another elevator down. Definitely more than 2 miles underground, which makes sense considering what's in here. This is what Yasuo noted after exiting the elevator, his domain able to see beyond the large door in front of them, the same door Mirek is verifying his identity on through biometric authentication. I can already sense a few NEN users behind the door all around the facility, NEN users specially picked to provide protection against the threats inside and the possible threats outside, so their abilities are bound to be dangerous or effective in keeping intruders out. A gleam of light passed in his eyes thinking of this. Also, mysterious engravings inside the walls, the ground and the roof as far as I can sense, and are most likely all around the facility, and some are similar to the divine inscriptions. Interesting, I should study them when I go back. You both can walk anywhere within the facility as long as you don't touch anything or get too close to the tubes. I'll follow closely behind, stated Mirek as the door started opening. What came within their vision as they walked past the door are several people in hazmat suits that seem to be walking around and discussing between themselves. There also seem to be some of them that are closely observing a few of the many large tubes placed all around the facility. The tubes seem to be filled with some kind of liquid with something peculiar floating inside each of every tube, something that stunned Morena as she started looking around at all the different disfigured and macabre human corpses and other gruesome things that barely look like a human. In fact, in some of the tubes, there are things that look more like disfigured human babies. Just what is this? Asked Morena, frowning, looking at the gruesome figures, though for the wrong reasons. She walked next to Yasuo as he explained to her, these are the victims of the 5 great calamities that humanity brought back in its travels to the Dark Continent. Yasuo pointed at a specific tube. Inside it is a human body with its head missing, seemingly not even severed. The neck just seems to end. Also, it looks like something burst from its guts. This one is a victim of Brian the botanical weapon. Not much is known about it so far except its appearance, which appears as an enormous sphere on top of a human body, where the head should be. He then pointed at another tube. All the bodies that are squashed or wrung and twisted are victims of a gaseous life form with limb-like appendages extending from its main form. Then he looked at the one with victims the size of dolls, all have an antler sticking out of their head. This is the result of PAP. It's capable of shrinking its victims to the size of dolls. Its full capabilities are unknown. And Hellbell, a snake-like creature with 2 tails. Its distinguishing feature is a large, black lump resembling a bell from which it derives its name. The skin of its neck up to the black lump from which the tails sprout looks twisted in texture. It infects its prey with homicidal desire, and it's even capable of mutating their bodies and possibly even affecting dead bodies with homicidal desires. It's incredibly dangerous, especially with the combination with its mutation ability. Explained Yasuo, looking at what appeared to be a hand, that grew mouths, many hands, and what seemed to be tendrils as Morena listened attentively with her interest in the Dark Continent peaking. They walked around the lab with Yasuo explaining what he deemed interesting and using his control domain to analyze each and everything in the tubes, all of the victims of the 5 threats, well, almost all. Yasuo stopped walking once he neared a large glass chamber as Morena stood next to him while looking at what is inside the chamber with curiosity in her eyes. A simple yet weird-looking human, he seems to be in the process of feeding on his own flesh with no sound coming out of him except the munching sound. This is a victim of the Zombie disease, also called the immortality disease, a mysterious sickness and one of the 5 threats. A hunter, who obtained the uncanny capacity to live entirely self-sufficiently and without sustenance for many years, becoming practically immune to death. It seems its self-sustenance is achieved through feeding on one's own flesh, and the disease greatly accelerates the regeneration of tissues. A weird expression surfaced on Yasuo's face, an expression of anticipation, anticipating the results of what he really came here for.